We are back with another fabulous daily episode of Cooperville Live. Today, for your Wednesday, February the 10th, 2021. I thank you for tuning in. Wherever you are tuned in, doesn't really matter. Actually, it'd be really cool if you were on Twitch. We're jamming on the Twitch. If you don't have the Twitch app, you can download it in your Apple Store, or you can download it in Google Play if you're on an Android device. Download the Twitch app. Just search No Limit Cooper, which is right there. I'll do that right there. No. And follow the page, and then and watch and enjoy and join the conversation in the comments on Twitch, on YouTube, and on Facebook. We are streaming live to all three platforms with another fantastic show lined up for today. Joey Arima, my friend, will be here. Hey, thank you, Jody. Thanks for joining us on Twitch. Joey Arima is going to be on Big White Light. He's got a new project out. We're going to chat about that and so much more. I want to talk to him about his Christmas picture with his cat and his lady friend. Just kidding. I love cats. Speaking of cats, that cat video, I talked about it yesterday on the show, the cat video that's now like globally viral with the attorney from Texas. They were doing a Zoom hearing. And the guy couldn't get the cat filter off of his Zoom, so it just looks like a talking cat. We talked about it yesterday on the show. I shared it. And all of a sudden, it's all over the place. I'm not saying we helped make it go viral, but we were a part. We were a part of the movement. Joey's going to be on here in just a bit. My buddy Dan Beck, CEO of Midwest Meals and NutriPrep, will be on. Talk about entrepreneurship and all the fun stuff that goes along with that. And longtime friend Corky Gangsford is it's got to be a decade at least. Known Corky for a long time, since his time with Otherwise, his band Code Red Riot. He drums in Blue Man Group out in Vegas. He does so many things. Art, like he's got his own clothing line. I mean, dude's just in it. He's in it. He will be on later on the program, but Joey's coming up here in under 10 minutes, so get ready for that. I do have to share this story because I found it, I don't know. So I'm on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Insta, that's where I am at No Limit Cooper, and No Limit Cooper Official on Instagram. But so I'm on there, and then since we've launched the live show, I've had some more people, jumping on and following, which is great. It's that's the currency these days, is how many followers do you have, right? That's what makes the world go around. So anyway, I get a follow from somebody, and it was some young lady, and it was like Life Coach 23 or something along those lines, a life coach. And I was like, what's this all about? So I go on and I check out the page, and it is not just a life coach, mind you, not just a life coach, a master life coach. Age 23, master life coach, age 23. And it's a bunch of, it's some shit that I put up. I may put up inspirational quotes once in a while, and some motivational hashtags and all that stuff, but that's basically all it is. And then pictures of like really expensive cars. I was like, wait a minute, like 8,000 followers, life coach at age 23. I feel like perhaps you have to reach a certain age before you can call yourself a life coach. And even maybe an older age before you're a master life coach. Is this something, are they teaching this in colleges now? Does anybody know? Comment if you know. Can you go to school now for life coaching? Is that a major or undergrad? Got my PhD in life coaching. I was like, what? I'm 40. Been on the ebb and flow of life. Like, what would she coach me on? Like, I know, I maybe talk about parenting. She'd be like, well, I don't know. Financial struggle. Well, I'm 23. My credit score is still 1,000. Haven't had enough time to fuck it up yet. Okay. Like, I'm not sure what 2 cents she would give me, but I'm sure it wouldn't be free. I'm sure that advice costs money. and she's probably had plenty of people that are paying for it. But I thank her for the follow, because that's the new currency, is followers on Insta. Crazy stories going on here, and we'll chat a little bit about this before we get to Joey Arima. This was interesting because this just broke. This actually happened back in November, but the story really just came out after the Super Bowl, and mostly it came out because of the fact that Jeep put out a commercial during the Super Bowl featuring the boss, Bruce Springsteen. And then all of a sudden the story breaks that back in November, Bruce Springsteen got busted for driving under the influence. And you know who's the maddest of all? MAD. Mothers Against Drunk Driving are MAD. See how that works? It's MA. Okay, you got it? Okay, good. So they're all up in arms like, wait a minute, this happened back in November, and all of a sudden this Jeep commercial comes out, and now this story is making waves. So Mothers Against Drunk Driving are pissed at the boss. But I feel like, I mean, if things happen in Jersey, like how drunk do you have to be in Jersey to get pulled over? I feel like you have to be, like, it's got to be bad. Kind of like Wisconsin, but more Jersey. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Lots more to get to on today's program. But I do see that hanging out in the green room is my long-lost buddy, Joey Arima. He's here. He's now, and he has 1,000,010 things to talk about, and he's wearing that awesome scarf again.
Am I muted?
No, you're live, man.
Hell yeah. It's here. Actually, it's funny. What's up, Coop? Thanks for having me on, man. It's good to see you. I see the Cooperville building, man. It's awesome.
Growing the empire, man.
I fucking love it. Oh, can I swear?
Yeah, you fucking can, man. This is America. We can switch. Just the internet.
This is America. It's the internet. Yeah, I'm actually. It's funny. I have to be pretentious scarf guy indoors because I'm freezing. I'm above a garage right now, and it's like 4 degrees in Ohio. So I didn't want to run the heater while we're having our live stream because it'll be loud.
You're getting the same thing, man. That polar vortex,
dude. It's intense.
We've been having this. This is, I should say, this is a warm day. Current temperature right now is 7. So this is like our warm day. But we got up on Sunday morning with really no intention of doing much for the day. But like, maybe we'll get outside, take the dog for a walk, whatever. It was, air temp was 19 below and the wind chill was like 38 below zero. I'm like, we're going to hang indoors today.
Dude, that's crazy, man. Yeah, it's definitely cold. I forgot how cold it gets here, but I spend the majority of my time indoors anyway. Our summer was epic, like we talked about during the summer. It was sweet. So,
well, it's because there was not much else to really do. Yeah. Get out and sit outside and enjoy it, man.
Man. So how have you been?
Good, man. Just I get bored with stuff, and I'm like, hey, I have an idea. Let's do a daily 3-hour live show and just talk to people and see what's going on in the world. So that's where we are.
I love that, man.
Yeah, but you've been busy too. You got like irons in the fire. You texted me, I think it was last week, and you're like, dude, I got some things, and I'm like, dude, let's chat. Let's get you on, and then you are. So like, what have you been up to? I mean, you've been inside, but I know you've been busy working.
Yeah, man. Everything's cool, man. I'm staying grateful. I started a business called Higher Nature, which is kind of like the starting of like a label, if you will. I've just been doing a lot of different production for different people. And we talked about, Andrew Hagar, we're finishing. I was just in Marin County with him last week or like 2 weeks ago, maybe now. And we were doing, it's weird because like when you're in the room, you never know what you're going to do, because I write and I produce. And a lot of times it's mostly both. Like with anyone I produce, it's a ton of writing and it's really collaborative and everyone's different. But it's cool, man. I just feel lucky to be able to make music and be able to kind of carve out my thing. This year has been huge. I think this year has been huge for a lot of people, but for me, it's been like, it's about doubling, tripling down on myself and really reinvesting in myself and trying to keep many irons, many fires going, like, because I've gotten into like, trying to mix the music better, trying to, you know what I mean? Just always trying to learn.
I think that's one of the things that you can there is silver lining in a lot of what's taken place over the last now year of COVID and lockdowns. And, and it's tough to, I've noticed it's not tough, but everybody's dealing with it in different ways. And whether that's because of local government legislation, or it's just because I can't go out and do what I thrive at, whether that's, live performances, or I lost my job. So, city to city, county to county, state to state, everything is different. But I think when you have the capabilities to take time to master things or improve on something that you already have your hands in, or learn a new craft, that's the people that I want to say come out of this, because I feel like people have been saying we're going to get out of this soon for a very long time. I'm like, well, this will be over by now. We're still here. Right. But I think that those who have cultivated this time and really maximize the opportunity that's been there, those are the ones that obviously continue to have that success. But also whenever things do open back up in a fuller capacity, that's when the benefits really become reaped.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. And I think a lot of people, not a ton of people are comfortable, when you got to sit there and look at the man or woman in the mirror. All we've had kind of is time. So, my buddies and I joke all the time that writers or producers, we always joke that we've been self-isolating or quarantining since the beginning. But, it's I don't know, man. It's I'm starting to look at it more it's more like a 40, 50 year arc, and less of got to have it all now, got to have it figured out. It's never going to be figured out. Even if, massive rewards do come, I think you still got to make sure you got the mental right. Today is pretty fucked up, man. Social media for me is this, I got to use it, but then also, and I'm good at building with it, but I have to be really mindful, because it's an echo chamber, and it can get me a little nuts. It robs my objective consciousness. I get really distracted.
Oh, same here, dude. And I'm a person who really tries to I want to say keep a routine, but I acknowledge that, especially now, the biggest platforms for me to use are social media. Granted, there's more eyes on it. It's, it's becoming, more of an interwoven part of people's lives and stuff. But the challenges with that, and I think that's what you're talking about, is what to do to increase, your footprint, to, gain more, A-teamers, to get more people into the circle to see what it is that you're working on. Because when you have so many things going on, you're like, oh shit, I'm working on this project. I need to post something so people are aware of it, because that's how, I don't want to say that's how you get the recognition, but that's how you go, and you make more connections, and someone sees something like, oh, well, shit, he's, working on this record. I should reach out to this guy, or, and then they fall down the rabbit hole. Where the problem lies is when you take a second and get off of there from what you're trying to do. I got to post this ad mat for the show, or I want to do some clips of the show, and you just start with the thumb starts going like this, and you kind of go, and I don't know if it's the flux capacitor. There's some sort of time travel that happens.
Time warp. It's time warp. It's real.
What? And there's nothing gained. Okay, so and so, had this for supper last night. So and so has this political view. Joey and his lady and their cat posted, a nice Christmas photo together. Yeah, it's really nice. You come out of that 20 minutes later, or a half hour later, or a day and a half later, you're like, I really don't feel smarter.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. It's funny though. When you ask though, it's I feel for a minute, we were definitely, as we're building and stuff like that, it's I got to make sure I have to stay out there and also keep and kind of share what we've been doing. Cause it's cool to sit here with you. For a minute there, I feel at least for my socials, I haven't been posting a whole lot. Mm-hmm. And it's only because I'm working on a lot of stuff. So we got I'm producing a lot of artists out here in Ohio. And then working remotely, some people in Nashville. Drew is out in California, and sort of Nashville, California, back and forth. And then I'm working on my project, Big White Light, which I think it's so drastically different than the stuff that I sent you, that I put out in the summer. That I think you're gonna laugh.
A little bit. I mean,
it's really it's dramatic. So
I was scanning the socials, but educational purposes. Not getting lost. I was I'm going to check out what Big White Light's got going on. And just hearing some of the audio that's coming out of there, I'm like, oh shit, Joey's going a different direction than the last time we spoke.
Yeah, it's really heavy. I mean, I think what's cool is like I grew up playing heavy music and everything, and I love heavy music, and I kind of fell back in love with heavy music during when everything kind of sort of changed and like with the pandemic and everything. And it helped me think. I was like, if I die tomorrow, like what do I want to put out? Basically, like straight up, just like if I'm not here, if I only have a certain, short period of time, I wanted to at least do a proof of concept EP. And what is a band that I would want to hear? Like what's the band that I want to hear that it doesn't exist? So right. I played all the instruments, I programmed the whole thing here. And then it's like a band on paper, like kind of like Trent Reznor is a band or Aaron Bruno from AWOL Nation's a band.
Right.
Until it's a band, until we go out there and play. But I figure, hey, we don't know how long this thing's going on for. So I'm going to write a super heavy, dark record that's like Floyd, like almost Pink Floyd meets like Deftones. I wanted like all the psychedelic elements of Floyd and the story elements of Floyd with the progressive thing of old Dream Theater records and the short song structure, the 3-4 minute song structure of Deftones.
No, I think the concept, which is, I was wondering if you're going to get to song length, because I was like, Pink Floyd, I'm like, dude, you're going to you're going to be bleeding.
No.
Like doing 12-minute, like, it's going to be crazy, but no,
not yet.
We're not quite there yet. But yeah. Do you, so when you get a chance to be kind of all of the things, play all of the instruments, write all of the notes, do all of the production, put it all together. Do you reach out to anybody for advice, for like, do you tap into other people's like, hey, what do you think about this? Because there's having creative control over something and being fully in control of it. But then there's like, I think I need a second opinion. Like, have you done that throughout this project?
Dude, yeah, great question. Objectively, it's like back to like echo chamber, right? You're kind of in, not an echo chamber. Yeah, it's sort of like an echo chamber, but you're not objective. Right. When it's your child, you can't look at your child and be like, give him different ears, not change his speed. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, I'll just say it like the guy who's going to master it, Dan Millis. We were just talking on the phone yesterday. He's been a huge help because I've never really like mixed. I've always like mixed stuff, but like got a reference mix and then we send it to like a like a monster. Like whether when I work with David Bendith, he did he obviously he mixed it on the SSL, or like if my old band Mouthwire tried a heavier band, and then like, or whether we'd send it to Ben Shigel here, or my buddy Damian Lewis, who has my favorite ears ever. He's in Malibu. He's the best. And so Dan has been helping me objectively with mix. Ross Hogarth has been a tremendous influence and help for me, just kind of telling me what is what, and trying to learn, because I'm still young in the game, as a producer mixer. So I'm learning. And then my buddy Jim Kaufman has been a huge help. A lot of guys, I just reach out to them. Hey man, what's up? Because I can't find my ass right now. I've been so deep in the lab. I don't even know.
Right.
Is it a good? I don't know.
No, I get that, man. I get when you get so deep into something, especially when it's your own project. And I think echo chamber is the right word for it, because of course you're going to have, your feelings towards it. You're the one that put the effort in. You're the one that put the time into it. But I think it's super smart to also have that other voice in your head that goes, yeah, but maybe, seeking out some advice on something, or even growing, because you have the time to do it right now, to learn some new tactics, to get somebody to say, well, I don't know about this part, but maybe this fits better here. But no, I think that's a fantastic way to go about it without, again, without having the band yet, because, well, where are you going to go?
Yeah. Yeah, and if I did, I already know who I'd want to be in the band or to do it.
Please tell me Greg Cash is in the band.
Well, Greg Cash. So Greg Cash was the first show as Big White Light. We played it. It was our only show that we did. We did it in September of 2 years ago. I think it was in September at the Viper Room. And it was packed, dude. It was amazing. It was Greg Cash, Dylan Howard, Tyler A. James. It was those guys are the best. I had the best time playing with them. Such humble guys, so fucking talented. So I would love, yeah, absolutely. I'd love that. You know, but right now, because nothing's happening, you know what I mean? But Greg is another guy I've sent stuff to. Hey man, what do you think? And he'll give me his objective take. And like I said, you know, whether it's like, you know, like some of like the first, you know, like the first EP you heard from like whatever, I'll just like any band, like Animals as Leaders or some band, like you hear the first EP and you're like, oh, I love that. And it felt like someone's first project. That's kind of my idea with this 4-track EP is it's like the proof of concept. We have a video that we just shot in a basement. It's super, super gnarly.
Nice.
It's really, really cool. And it's getting finished this week. Just something to get out there. It might not be, you know what I mean? But one thing leads to another, you know?
You have to lay the groundwork and do something before it automatically is like, oh yeah, this is amazing. This is awesome.
It's gotta be a thing. Like no one knows it's a thing until you put it out there and it's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I know the feeling, know it all too well.
Yeah.
So I mean,
you have to manifest, you have to make it happen.
Exactly. And you know, for all the things that you obviously have going on, the projects, working with others, working on your own stuff, developing things. Do you have downtime? And is there? I mean, I know there's been some. There's nothing. No.
I don't ever take a break, which is an issue. You know, honestly, like work-life balance has been hard for me. My girlfriend Mia has been a really amazing grounding force. She's so rock solid. She's so consistent. I always joke like I'm a rock and she's a kite. I think we talked about this last time. Literally, like, dude, like she's here. And I just catch her on my way up into mania and I catch her on my way down into depression. I'm dramatic, but you know what I'm saying?
It works though. It works.
Yeah. I would like to, like, when it's nice out, I try to get outside, try to be outside an hour or two a day. I love the gym. I think you and I both share that. I love the gym. So that's downtime is like the gym.
Yeah. And that's been tough, I think, for a lot of people to really grasp during all this. Cause everybody's been kind of given the free pass to like chill the fuck out for now a year. Like, like just whatever. Like nobody's like, hey, what you really should be doing is probably exercising more, maybe supplementing with a couple of key things. You know, keep yourself healthy. Yeah, but I think you're right. I think that has to be a part of your day because it keeps. I think mentally, there's a mental sharpness, there's a physical sharpness to continuing a fitness regimen on a regular basis.
Certainly.
But even in all the things you have going on, that may be the only moment you have of mental clarity, of like, hey, for this hour, 90 minutes, however long you're in the gym or you're doing whatever, like it's just this. It's not the other stuff. I think, you know, maybe for the first 20 minutes, you kind of untangle the wires a little bit and you're like, oh, well, that thing. And maybe you do find some like, that makes sense on this thing I was working on before. But eventually it just becomes about that moment of like getting the sweat on, getting the uckies out. Yeah. And when you get done and you feel like, okay, I'm glad I got that done, then I think you do have you felt like it was downtime, even though it was the exact opposite.
Totally. Yeah. And I think as far as downtime, like I say it kind of like, I kind of say it jokingly, like, you know, I consider any day I get to do music or anything creative. And like, if I get to do it as a job, like, I consider it such a blessing. Like, so for me, I have to I kind of check in, like, even if I don't have like necessarily downtime. Yeah. Like if I do have downtime, it's not like I never have it. If I do have downtime, I try to end up just getting more into educating myself on whatever I'm interested in. Right. So like any waking downtime is usually devoted to trying to get better at something. I just love to learn. I'm so grateful to I just want to stay teachable and check in, make sure you get a meal. Like if you're working too hard, make sure you go get a good meal. You know, make sure you call a friend. Maybe you can go out and help someone else, you know what I mean? Get out of your own shit, because it can get very, when you're sitting there working on your projects, it can get very like me, you know, it can get really.
Yeah. Eating is important. It's one of those things. I've run into that issue before, because I mean, I'll get up and I have to make a confession. I haven't run in the last couple of mornings because it's fucking 30 below zero out.
Yeah. It's Alaska, dude.
I'm crazy, but you know, if the zombies are coming and it's 35 below, chances are they're going to catch up. And that's at this rate.
Yeah.
But you know, try to get up, try to get meditation in. I mean, that's part of my daily routine. Try to get the exercise in. And then, you know, I have another job. I'm working for, you know, a couple of music festivals out on the grounds, doing stuff out there. So all of a sudden it's like up, meditate, exercise, shower, go to work, do the thing, come home. And now since this has started, it's come home, try to remember to eat, I think. And then, okay, prep for today's show, you know, grab the headlines, you know, obviously do some recon on who I have on for the day, start booking for the next day. I finally had a Zoom conversation with my mom, who lives out in Northern California, a couple of nights ago. And so I have her on my phone sitting on my laptop, and she's talking, and I'm like down here, like, she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm sending out 15 emails for guests for the next couple of weeks. And she's like, it's 9 o'clock. I'm like, yeah, I've been going since 4. But you do have to remind, she's like, have you eaten today? I'm like, oh shit. I knew it was something on the list I didn't do.
Yeah.
Because you can get wrapped up in completely things that you know are necessary for your body. You're like, oh yeah, I didn't do that because I was too worried about getting Joey on the show.
Well, one time, I mean, or one thing that I really feel like is like, there's some, I work better. I don't know how you do, but like, I tend to work better with urgency. Like if I have a deadline, like if there's 2 hours, I'm kind of more effective in 2 hours than I am in 8. So sometimes I try to itemize and just like get in the habit of getting things done. And I also have like little like anecdotes written around and stuff. Sometimes I just like write it on my arms, or like I'll write it on paper, like kind of memento style. But like I write like, you know, perfection is not for this world. Like I could sit around and tweak something forever, but as a creative, I mean, as a fellow creative, right? It's better just to get this stuff out. And I think we live in a time where I think it's easier than ever to get an audience. But in terms of, because there are so many people doing it, it's about like being honest with who you are and going, okay, what do I really, you know what I mean? Like, what do I want to do, and how do I do it? Because I feel like a song at least is never done. You just have to put it out. I heard like a mix is never done. It just depends when it's like, it's done when you quit, which I love. You're like, I'm done.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
I can imagine that too. Cause I mean, perfectionism, I think, is just an innate, when you are a creator, you have it in your mind, and one thing could be a little bit off. You could probably work on a song forever and be like, it's not, you know, I really want it to be 3:45 and it's 3:40.
Right.
Do a fade out here. Can we do something else? Can we change something up in the middle? But eventually you do have to get it out. And that was huge with even the debut of this show. Was I sat on it for months.
Right.
I was just kind of thinking about it. I'm like, you know, how am I going to do this? And finally my girlfriend was like, why don't you just do it?
Just do it.
Why don't you just do it? And then, you know, it grows, you learn, you see what works, you see what doesn't work. And then, you know, eventually when we get to a point where we're like, you know, bringing sponsors and stuff on board, you're like, here's the product I have to offer you in order to make this not just something I do because I like to chat with people.
You're only going to learn on the field. That's the bottom line. It's like, you know, or whatever, like if you want to get in the ring, the cost of entry is getting hit. So it's like, you know, like, welcome to it, you know, welcome to the arena, you know? And, I think having, like you're talking about your girlfriend, pushing you in that direction or in the right direction, they have this objectivity, and because they, you know, you probably live with her, right? So like you're with her all the time, right? And like, if you're with her all the time, whether you live with her or you don't, your significant other can see you a way that you can't see you. Self can't see self. So like, you'll be sitting here tweaking it, and they're going, this is great.
Yeah.
Move on. you know, because in the time that you did this, the next one we know is going to be better tomorrow. Yeah. And the next live stream is going to be better. So yeah, by the time you bring in partners, you go, this is our business model. This is what we've built. Mm-hmm. And we've learned over a year, 2, 3 years, and we have fanship, you know, we have a group of people, you know, so.
No, I think it's so many good words in there about in any project. I think in any, you know, avenue you want business, yeah. And when you're trying to do something in the creative world, you know, in music and in podcasting, you know, whatever, you have to try to find a way to break through the clutter, because there's a lot of it. And I think you even mentioned that, like, especially right now, because there's people that have been like, oh, I think I want to do this. And then they dive into something. But finding a way to break through all of the other stuff, because, hey, there's some people that maybe should find something else to do. You know, I'm being objective, but I'm like, maybe this isn't your thing. But if you're loud enough and if you're spewing enough things and you're pandering to the right audience, you can create a crowd. But I think cutting through all the clutter that's out there and all the different songs, different styles, different ways of doing things, that's when the challenge lies, because you can go on and be like, how in the hell is this person getting more whatever hits, downloads, streams? Like, we're doing better stuff over here. We're working harder. We're more dedicated to it. We got more talent. And that can get people down too when they see others that are being successful and being like, and you just got to cut that shit out and stay after it.
You're absolutely right. That, looking at others can really mess you up. But I think the thing is, like, or like comparing, you know, is obviously can be a really slippery slope. It can be very dangerous. But I think another thing, what I've noticed about that is sometimes I'll see it and I'm like, if you're doing that, is there some untapped potential in you that is like, where is the disturbance? Is it with some sort of untapped, unrealized thing within you, you know, which is like, and that's so human, dude. We're all like that. And I think that's gotta be a biological thing, competition for survival, etc. But like, so it's gotta be natural, but it sure doesn't feel good. You know, and like, I think too, like that HBO series Defiant Ones was really cool, where like Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre and stuff and Eminem, they were talking about, like, Jimmy Iovine was talking about how racehorses wear blinders. I love that. If you just kind of focus in on what you do, and I say this really, I can say this pretty, you know, I love being an artist, but like, I think really you and I are entrepreneurs. I think we're just talking about being, you know, entrepreneurs, you know, in any facet. But right. Like, I think there's something really cool about, I'm very, very passionate about this. Like, I think today you can build a community, probably slowly, and it's going to be a grind, but you can build a community and sustain and create income and a living in a more realistic way. It might not be musicians like rolling around in Lamborghinis as much anymore,
right?
But it's a little less Lamborghini and a little bit more realistic, and that's why I feel so privileged to be able to work on what they call it both sides of the glass. So like production and like mainly like writing, production, and artist. There's a little detachment, and it's not me. It's just like, these are things I do instead of before. I always thought like, I have to. This is the only thing I do.
Right
now, I'm like, I'm better if I'm not sitting in it going, well, why aren't I as good? Why isn't it as much as this? Or why, you know, I don't know if I'm disjointed here, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think being diversified, especially now, I think we learned a lot, just like the things that you never thought would be being taken away.
Yeah.
Venues being closed, you know, there's not touring, there's, you know, the music industry obviously got hit hard. And I think for those who are simply, you know, riding in one lane of that, and, you know, in the artistry part of it, there still can be, obviously there's that creativity for those that write their own music and that are, you know, can work with their band and stuff. But when you take out, if your major element is, well, we tour, we write an album, and then we go back to tour, and that major portion of that, say 6 months out of your year, which would be touring, is taken away, you go, man, I wish I had some other stuff I could work on. So to be diversified and to have many different avenues of things that not only that you can sustain some financial income, but things that you also like, well, yeah, but I also enjoy doing this. It's not like I'm sacrificing the fact that I like to go out and play live shows. I'm doing something else I love, whether that's for you, producing and working for other people on their records and writing and all the other aspects, putting together your own damn concept album. And it's got bored. I wanted to do a heavy record, so I decided to do it. But that's great. That's great to have all of those tools at your disposal. I think that's the secret, and not anymore. It's not a secret, but that's the key to being successful, is diversifying your talents and loving everything that you do.
Loving it. And certain things you could try. It doesn't matter whether you're a painter or an accountant. Like, you try different things. And, I've always been so all or nothing. And I realize now it's not really like that. Life is just kind of gray. It's not black or white. It's not all or nothing. Like, I've always been so like burn the boats, no plan B. And it's like, that's cool. And I get it. And there's some real beauty about not having an exit, which is cool.
Right.
But like, that urgency can really be really powerful if like you're giving yourself a deadline to complete something. But I think also it's just trying to get a little bit like more right sized and just kind of be more like, I'm a part of the earth. I'm not the main thing, because when I was younger, man, whew,
one candle burning at both ends, just
man, just like
down into nothing.
Yeah, man. So
still standing though. That's the important part.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. But yeah, man, I think it's cool, and I'm really looking forward to like it's so cool to see your channels grow. I'm happy to be here, happy to know you, and I'm excited for what's coming. I'm going to send you some of the music in a minute.
No, when you messaged me that last week, I was like, and then I tapped into the Instagram, and I was hearing clips of the other stuff. I'm like, oh, here we go. It's getting some angst out.
It's riffy, it's really riffy, and like, it's just fun to play guitar. I just, for a minute there, I wasn't really playing guitar, and I always laugh like, "Hey, Dad, look, I'm playing guitar again." Because he's like, "What the fuck? Start shredding again." And I'm like, "Okay,
but pussy, come on, get back out there."
Yeah, that's what he said.
No, and you're so fucking amazing at it too. I mean, just watching some of the videos, getting on and just shredding, and to know that that's diversifying. That's like, I just happen to have this talent in my back pocket. I probably should pull this out and dust it off. Otherwise, my dad may get pissed.
Thanks, man. Well, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. And it's like, it's I don't know, man. Just happen to be a part of the bigger thing now, instead of just, you know what I mean? Instead of having it all figured out.
Right. Yeah. The burn the ships thing is kind of I know Tony Robbins has mentioned that a couple of times. Are there guys out there like that? Because I think it can be tough. I mean, as self-motivated as you are and all the things that you have going on, do you find guys like Tony Robbins or maybe like a Gary Vaynerchuk and David Goggins, the guys that are out there like grinding, do you reach out, even just for content? I find myself in the David Goggins Monday afternoon clip where he's like 109 degrees out, what are you doing, you pussy? And I'm like, I'm so sorry, I didn't do enough today. So yes,
I love Goggins, dude.
Oh man,
I love Jocko. I love Goggins. I think Tony Robbins is great. Gary Vee is great. I think that Goggins is cool because Mia and I were just talking about this. I think it's so cool because what he does, or at least what it seems like, in Buddhism, life is suffering, right? What he does is he just completely fucking embraces suffering. He actually, how much can I suffer? Which to me is hilarious. Instead of going, oh, suffering comes from desire, to be rid of desire, right? It's like, he goes, I'm going to lean into suffering. I'm going to lean. And what the coolest part about it is I'm going to lean into the work.
Right.
The work gives meaning to me. I'm not preaching. The work to me gives me meaning.
Right.
I need fucking goals. I need work on my plate. And hey, for anyone, if anyone's in here watching from my channels that came over. Just want to say, sorry I haven't been posting as much. I'm working on giving you more music. I love the work. You know what I mean?
Again, leaning into it. That's I mean, that dude is such a beast, and just the things that he accomplishes, and not saying at his age, but for all that he's been through. If you've read the book, Can't Hurt Me, which is fantastic. It's a great read. It's a great, if you get the audiobook, if you ever get a chance to get the audiobook, because he does a breakdown between chapters and goes back with the narrator and expands a little bit on some of the stories, which is fantastic. But you have a guy who is just doing ridiculous things and in ridiculous conditions, and it gives merit to not just in the physicality of it. Because as much as I like to run, my ass, if 200 miles is like, yeah, that sounds like something to do this weekend, that's just, but when you conceptualize it a little bit, and it's like, what if it is like Joey says, it's leaning into the work. Like, even when you're like, God, like maybe there's a piece or a part of it that you're hesitant to do, or you're not 100% sure of, or it's going to be like, well, shit, this is going to take, here goes the rest of my day or my week, or I got to get this done before this. Like, if you keep on leaning back from it, the longer that path gets. If you start to lean into the effort and into the work, and you just go, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. I got to get this done, and if I have questions, I'm going to find out the damn answers, and I'm just going to do it. Dude,
you're totally right. The esteem, what do they say? Like, to get self-esteem, do esteemable actions. Like, that's it, dude. Do it. It's almost like, if you reduce it to, we're so fortunate, we're being born in this country. There are a lot of things that happen. First of all, I could have been a fucking seahorse or a moss or something. So like, I'm here as a human. That's number one. And then also, like,
duck-billed platypus.
Yeah, right. Yeah, dude. With them poison hitters. You know what I'm saying? And that. Right, the wings, but either way,
here we are.
Here we are. And like, the thing is, like, what's really cool about it is, like, if I'm the gym, if I'm avoiding going to the gym, as soon as I get in the gym, I'm like, damn, 15 minutes in, I'm like, damn, I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad I'm here. Yeah. We do shit. We build shit. We build homes. We build things. We wouldn't be here if we didn't build stuff.
Yeah, if we all got like bored and sat around and we're like, this hunter-gatherer bullshit, like, I don't know, it's
fuck this.
A lot of work, those buffalo are fast, man. I don't want to. You go get we'd be fucked. Like, we wouldn't be here. But somehow, some way, we're like, we should probably figure out ways to just keep on improving and building and becoming better.
Well, that's got to be it, right? I mean, that's got to be it. Like, when you feel better by leaning in, that's got to be what this is about, right? It has to be something more historic and bigger. It's got to be more of a historical thing, like ancestral type thing, and not just kind of the Western motivation. Achieve. You know what I mean?
Put up a post on Facebook about go chase your dreams, or
my achievements.
Here are my achievements for the day. We got a couple of comments coming through. Jody's is looking good.
Thanks, Jody, what's up?
Jumping on the Twitch. Mama Joe Bug, thanks for an engaging conversation as I work today. Very nice.
Mama Joe, what's up?
Just hanging on the Twitch. Do you do? Are you a Twitcher? Do you do the Twitch thing?
So I was talking to one of my buddies about we were going to do like a band on Twitch for a minute, but I'm not sure yet. I don't really Twitch. We're on Twitch right now, correct?
Yeah, we're on Twitch and YouTube. So welcome to the world of Twitch. It's so weird. Like, it's one of those spaces that I remember years ago hearing about, and it was a total gamer thing. And it's still, I mean, the majority of it is like people, playing video games, playing Call of Duty, playing a bunch of stuff. And then I read about Trivium. Trivium was doing a bunch of stuff on Twitch, and they're like, we don't buy it anywhere else. Like, and there's billions of people on this platform, and it's content. It's really super cool. I would check it out. I mean, it's growing. I think in that the musical world, there's a bunch of bands in there that are doing Q&A stuff.
Yeah,
throwing riffs out there. I think Phil from All That Remains is doing stuff like once every week. He's out just like, talking about guns and like blowing shit up. I mean, that's his show.
That's awesome.
It's definitely an avenue to check out, because I think that there's not that people are getting tired of Facebook but I think it's become to some people more of a nuanced thing where it's like, ugh, I'm on it because I have to see what my mom's doing and she's posting recipes for shit she shouldn't eat, and YouTube is obviously it's still really the only video based platform that has any merit. I mean, Rumble's out there, but it just doesn't get the accolades. Twitch is a new one. Have you heard of Clubhouse yet? Have you heard of
I heard of Clubhouse. I just heard about Clubhouse yesterday.
Yeah, so Clubhouse, and I just got in. It's like an invite only thing, so it's like super, and it's not really super secret. Like it's
All right.
like people are on it, but it's video only. So it's really, you create a room and say it's Cooper and Joey talk about leaning into it. So we have a room. You and I are chatting. People can join the room and listen. If we were like, oh, hey, there's so and so, and you can add them in. So it's really like audio only, conversation, social media. It's a really intriguing platform, I think.
That's cool.
One of those ones like, oh, I should have invested money in that. Where was Robinhood when I needed him? Oh, there it is.
Oh, yeah, right.
On some other stuff, apparently.
That's funny, man.
No.
Where was Robinhood when I needed him?
He was working on some other projects, apparently.
Yeah.
GameStop back up.
Yeah, bigger. Yeah, bigger.
Hey, Joey, always a pleasure, my friend. It's so cool to see all the cool things that you have going on.
Hell yeah.
We'll tag all of you, see all of your socials for those who are following along, and
thanks, brother.
Let's get you back on, man. Let's make it a regular thing. We could chat forever about leaning into it.
Hell yeah, man. Big love. Thanks for having me on, and can't wait to hop back on when Big White Light drops.
Looking forward to it, my friend. Take care of yourself. All my best.
Later, bro. Take care of yourself.
Joey Rima on the show. Big White Light at Big White Light on the Insta. Make sure you go and give them a follow, because that's some badass shit that's gonna be dropping here in just a bit. So to all of you who are watching and paying attention on either Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, thank you, all of my Twitch followers, trying to build that audience up. Really appreciate you taking the time to be a part of today's show. Still got a bunch to get to today, including guests, my friend Dan Beck, who is the CEO of Midwest Meals, and NutriPrep. He's just doing great things. I used to always see him in the building at Midwest Meals. The actual brick and mortar is local, but they ship nationwide. And then he just went next level, and now he's just out doing and conquering the world. So it's cool stuff. So talk to Dan Beck and Corky Gangsford of Code Red Riot. New music going to be dropping soon from them. We're going to talk to him about that, and Blue Man Group, and his art and his clothing line. I mean, just got his hands in all the stuff. So we'll talk to Corky in just a bit. We'll take a break. We'll be back, and all the fun will continue. Thank you. Continue to watch. We'll be back in about 5 minutes or so. Maybe. And we're back. Thank you for hanging out with us. Cooperville Live, rolling until 6 o'clock this evening, and still got plenty going on for the rest of the show. A couple minutes away from Dan Beck from Midwest Meals joining it. Talk entrepreneurship and motivation and keeping yourself healthy during whatever it is that you're dealing with currently. To all of you who are tuned in on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch, thank you. To all who have commented, keep the comments coming. Always love seeing the interaction. Let me know where you're listening from or watching from. Always makes the show super interactive, which is super cool. I don't know if you, I think everybody by this point has heard about this, but this story did pop back up somehow into my newsfeed today about the new way of testing for COVID that's apparently happening in China right now, and there's some under rumblings that it could be making its way over here to the United States, and that is the new way of testing you to see if you have COVID with the anal swab, which doesn't sound like the greatest time in the world, but some new facts are coming out. I shouldn't say facts. I should say somebody had the time and audacity to explicitly write down how it works, and the details are maybe a little more frightening. So supposedly it's about 1 to 3 inches, 1 to 3 inches in. A gentle, they did use the word gentle turn of the swab, and then a slow removal. Okay, and they are saying that this is apparently more accurate in testing for COVID and for the antibodies of COVID. Like, at what point, I mean, are you like, I'm gonna take my chances? Yeah, I don't feel the greatest. I'm just gonna wing it and risk it. They showed a bunch of showed some video of people at the airport having this happen, because apparently there's in some places there are flight restrictions. You have to be tested. I mean, going through security checkpoints at an airport now can be difficult enough, right? Like with the full body thing, and then checking. Imagine that now that layer is added onto it. Like, sir, we need you to step over here really quick, or ma'am, or whomever. Back behind this little curtain here, Maybe do you get past the metal detectors first? So your belt's already off and your shoes already off, and they're like, well, now that you're already, half undressed, we have a little something for you. Here you go. It will only hurt a little. But then they show people walking out, and I don't know, this could have been staged. I don't know. I didn't examine it. People are just kind of doing the little the penguin waddle, like, time to get on your flight. Time to go sit down for a couple of hours. No. Everybody thought it was a joke. That meme was going around. It was like COVID testing in the rear, meaning the rear of the building. Everybody's like, wait a minute. Thought it was through the nose. No, actually, it was just foresight. Like, oh, this is actually what's coming. Eek. A little scary. A little bit scary. We do have Dan Beck coming up here, and then Corky Gangsford of Code Red Riot and Blue Man Group, and they have new music coming out. Code Red Riot's got new music coming out. We'll chat about that and that process and his art. I was just talking to Joey about diversification, being diversified, during COVID, having many different things that you could, have your hands in, and Corky's another prime example of that. Speaking of prime examples, people who have their hands in a bunch of stuff. Dan Beck, Midwest Meals. How are you doing, my friend? Can you hear me now? How about now? Can you hear me now?
I think I got you.
Okay, good. Can you
hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Beautiful. Oh.
We're going to talk to Dan Beck's chest today on the show.
Well, if you can't tell already with technical difficulties, my main laptop is in the shop getting repaired right now. Okay. So I'm using an old Windows, and I haven't been on Windows in probably 5 or 6 years. So getting everything combobbled up. I got some USB mics coming in. I got my USB camera coming in, and luckily we're here.
I was going to say, did they have like 4,700 Windows updates? Like, we need to update.
Yeah, pretty much. Every time I open an application, it says that something needs to get updated or something needs to get done, and I'm just like, I miss my Mac already.
Can we get that back anytime soon? That'd be great. How you been, my friend?
I've been good. It's been a pretty crazy start to the year. It's been kind of our busy time always at Midwest Meals is, January, February, people are kind of refocusing, recentering in on their health. So we see an influx of new customers. We see just a general influx of total production volume. So it's been a very busy start to the year. And then on top of that, we also just got a little husky puppy that's keeping me up at night and keeping me busy.
I saw that. Obviously I know you had Opie and adorable. And then I saw another picture. I think Claire put one up, and I was like, I wonder if they're dog sitting, because there's no way they would be like, it's better than one dog is two. But there's two now, and a husky puppy.
Yes. I've wanted one for as long as I can remember, since I was a little kid. And I know you and I have talked about doing vision boards and stuff like that in other medias. That's something that I've always, for the life of me, wanted. Don't know why, don't know where it comes from, but finally pulled the trigger and got one. And he's a little bit of a handful compared to the Labradoodle.
But he's adorable. He's got those blue eyes. I mean, it's like
yes.
A kid. When a kid does something naughty, you're like, oh, but you're so cute, and I made you. And it's
yeah,
great.
Exactly. Yeah. Eyes. So that's eating up all of my free time is right now. It's, kind of makeshift with this laptop and all the projects that are going on in the background. And then got him the rest of the time.
It's a full-time gig, man.
Yes, it is.
Full-time gig, those puppies. So you talked about this a little bit about, the new year, and it makes sense. People make resolutions and they decide to eat healthier, or, maybe finally some things that broke through during COVID, that being healthy is also very beneficial to your immune system. Nobody's been talking about it, but apparently maybe that finally broke through in comparison to like previous years, because this was obviously, it's been a different almost a year. Would you say that you've seen some? I mean, is it bigger volume? Are you seeing more people that are getting after it compared to years past?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're far past what we were doing in 2020. Obviously, restaurants, food kind of took a hit early Q1 of 2020. But I think that people are really starting to realize that, I mean, the number one thing that you can do to control your overall health is control what you put in your mouth. And we're seeing the same crowd that we've always seen, but we're also seeing kind of a new crowd of people who are, just getting introduced to eating healthier. They're not sure what they should eat. They should not sure about portions. They don't know anything, and they're seeking out guidance, which is awesome. And that's something that we always try to do is, if someone comes to us and they say, hey, I know nothing, what do I need to do? It's perfect because those type of people, we can actually help coach through the entire way and get them to where they need to go, versus there's some dogmas in certain nutrition philosophies that people will say, hey, do your meals fit a certain way? And if we don't, they'll look at us and say, oh, what the heck? And they'll go elsewhere. So it's cool to see those people kind of really, taking form and getting after it.
Which is great. I think there's it talked about this, I think, with you, and I've talked about this with many others throughout all of this. And you guys, of course, have the COVID sucks. Your diet doesn't have to stickers and stuff like that, which are fantastic. But there's really not been much in the overall, I want to say, mass media, major media that has really come out and said, yeah, these things. There's obviously focus on wear a mask and social distance and wash your hands, wash your butt, all the important stuff is out there. But it feels like the biggest thing, and I've had, Dr. J's been on, and I've had other people on that have said, why is nobody talking about health, nutrition, what you're putting in your body, supplements, exercise? It really feels like, and I'm glad that people have finally, at least according to, to your numbers, and seeing an increase of people, that are having that have questions, that are engaging with it, that people are finally doing maybe some of their own research, because it's still not, I don't think, being very, very widely talked about as far as the narrative goes about get healthy, take your zinc, take your D3, take your, K, all the good things.
It's so bizarre because, I mean, I've followed along the entire thing because it directly affects us from a regulatory standpoint. But it's bizarre to me to be at this point in a pandemic, and I don't think that I have once heard mention about, eating correct foods, getting adequate exercise, supplementing the things that you can't get, or you're not having the variety to get. And it's bizarre to me that it isn't more of a focal point, because one, it's one of the worst comorbidities. If you get COVID and you are morbidly obese, it's one of the worst things that can happen. But on top of that, just being overweight up to morbidly obese can contribute to a lot of complications and other conditions that just generally we should focus on. And it doesn't have to be complex. We always we start with people that if they come into the storefront over towards the kitchen wall, there's a little graphic, and it's a little triangle. And on the bottom of that triangle is, if you focus on absolutely nothing else, what's the one thing that you can focus on that's going to have the biggest impact in terms of your body composition? And it goes right back to that old adage of you need to control your calories. You need to be in a caloric deficit if you need to reduce weight, and you need to be in a surplus if you're trying to gain weight. And if you're focusing on nothing else, no macros, nothing, and you just want to make it as absolutely simple to get started with a better habit, it always goes back to that calorie equation.
Yeah, and it seems like something that is, I shouldn't say simple, because it does get more complex than that at, I think, maybe step 2 and step 3 and step 4. But the basics feel like they haven't changed much. You kind of know about, and whatever, the food pyramid was was a scam, and the sugar thing was a scam. But I mean, there's the basic knowledge of, like, if I'm watching the calories that I'm putting in, and I know, give or take, even if you don't have like a Whoop strap or an Apple Watch that's kind of counting just the calories that your body burns by walking and talking and breathing and blinking over the course of the day, you can kind of eyeball the math on that. Like I'm probably maybe burning about 1,800 calories a day. I'm probably taking in 2,500. Well, if I want to lose weight, I should reduce that number down here. So the simplistic part of it has been the same for a very long time, but people still have lots of questions about it.
Yeah, I always say too, it's simple in what you need to do, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be easy. You know, when it comes to actually controlling your calories coming in, you know, a lot of people have never used a food scale in their life, or you know, if you're making a PB&J, when I make a PB&J, it's not 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, it's a mountain. And that 200 calorie sandwich all of a sudden went from 200 to 800. And unless you're actually, you know, actively pursuing what it takes to learn how to do it intuitively, you probably are overeating in the number of calories. And that's probably the place to start, is to accurately track your intake on your calories, figure out what your baseline is. And then from there, then you can put together your plan to either get into a deficit or a surplus. But I mean, it's simple, but it's a psychological thing for a lot of people too. If you have to say no to a candy bar and you've never done that in the past 20 years, it's going to be difficult.
Right. And things that people don't necessarily think about when it comes to like putting calories in their body, things like soda and other types of beverage that you're like, well, whatever, I just had this. And you're like, well, that's without knowing it or fulfilling any need that your body had. You just had, you know, a big slam of Mountain Dew and you're like, well, it's really fine, right? Like they still count.
Yep. And you can certainly incorporate those things. You know, if you're Mountain Dew, for example, if you're a huge Mountain Dew drinker, maybe you bring back the total number and you still work it in there. You know, because at the end of the day, calories are going to determine your body composition. Those calories from the Mountain Dew are not going to be great in terms of being satiating. There's not going to be any other nutrients that come with it. But if nothing else, if you sincerely enjoy it, you know, there's some intrinsic value to it there as well.
During all this, I know you've been nose to the grindstone. I mentioned this in the open when I was talking about having you on, that you know, I used to always see you in the building, you know, when I'd stop in and get my meals. But you've been out, you know, nose to the grindstone, pounding pavement and stuff, and obviously cleaning up dog pee with the new puppy and stuff. But I know you've always been super busy, but is there anything in the last year that you feel like you've missed out on because of COVID, that you like, yeah, I normally do this and I wasn't able to do it? Were there things out there that you're like, shit, that's the thing I didn't get to do during all this?
Yeah, most certainly. You know, one of the things that I think that the struggle with COVID and the way that we're changing is there's just so much less human interaction, human connection, getting out and traveling, you know, planning out some trips that in 2020, I was supposed to be down at the Arnold Classic, supposed to go to all these different events that you connect with people in your industry, you connect with friends. It just kind of, it's a bummer. You know, in food as well, there's different expos, there's packaging expos, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can get out, physically experience the city and see. And then on top of that, you know, it serves a greater purpose of human interaction as well. So yeah, it's definitely been different, to say the least. I think that it's getting a little bit, you know, a semblance of finding what it looks like now to still get those things done in a different avenue. You know, I one of the things that I'm going to do in 2021 is do some sort of a small domestic trip, you know, planning, you know, whether that's going out to Mount Rushmore or whether that's flying over to California and hanging out with some old friends, you know, whatever that is. But that's been certainly one thing that the restrictions of COVID have made an impact on. Because I mean, it's very easy for me all day to talk about, you know, nutrition, because there's a lot of black and white in research. But the other side of the coin when it comes to health is your mental health as well, which is becoming less stigmatized. But it's still something there that if you don't have that at least somewhat in check, your nutrition's probably not going to line up. Your exercise is probably not going to line up, and the rest of your life is probably not going to line up either.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of numbers there that some have come out, and some I think will continue to come out as time goes on, because it's really tough to do research when everybody's, trapped inside the cage right now. Well, not trapped inside the cage. I mean, we're kind of blessed here in Wisconsin. We have a little more freedoms than they have elsewhere, but that's one of the things that I think doesn't get talked about enough, and maybe is starting to, is that mental health aspect of it. Because you do have, when you're sad, like, I didn't get to go on this trip, or I didn't get to go, usually every Thursday was guys night or was girls night, or so-and-so was supposed to get married and they did, but it was virtual. When you combine all those things, and maybe there's a job loss, or maybe there's some having to parent from or teach your kids from home, the homeschooling thing, which luckily here we've kind of gone back to a little more in person. But at the end of those days, when you're like super fucking sad, like, nobody's going for the salad, like, nobody's like, hey, this really sucks. No, it really sounds good. It's some kale, nobody.
Yeah.
You go for the comfort that you have. And that's usually something that doesn't fall in line with like being completely healthy. Now, you can have those meals, and you and I have talked about that. You can still incorporate those into your diet, but it's the day after the day after the day after the day. That's a week. That's like 6 months.
Right. It turns into a cyclical thing where, you have one bad day that turns into a day of bad eating. And then that bad day, the next day you go, oh, I feel like crap because I ate like crap. And then it's just this downward cycle. And it's really, to get back on track, is it's just one meal at a time. No one got fat from one meal the same way that no one got skinny from one salad. At the end of the day, it's about figuring out what you need to do to make those habits long term, so that when you hit those bumps in the road, I had that shitty day. All right, I'm gonna run out to Culver's and get some fries and a Culver's custard, whatever that be. And that's how you are able to incorporate, a grander scale of food into an overall diet, and still maintain a good body composition, still maintain really good health, and still also live a life that allows you to do, more than just salad and chicken and not fun stuff.
Right. But I think the great thing about Midwest Meals is you guys continually find ways to make healthy more enjoyable, more fun. I mean, the flavor combinations and different things that I think people don't think. I mean, I was, talking on the podcast about, every day is Taco Tuesday at my house, because I'm like, well, I don't give a shit if it's Wednesday. I'm having lean turkey tacos. And so you guys have found a way, to really incorporate. It doesn't have to be salad, rice, and chicken every single day. And that's, I think, one of the nice things about, the service that you provide, and the service that's expanding, obviously, is it doesn't have to always suck.
Right. I mean, ultimately, as from an R&D standpoint, ultimately the goal is to be not necessarily comfort foods, but foods that you naturally are inclined towards. So, for instance, developing a deconstructed cheeseburger bowl with brown rice, it's got lean beef in it, a little bit of cheese, and then the sauce in it it's an imitation from a Big Mac sauce. But instead of, loading it up with a ton of fats, we're putting in healthier fats, using some Greek yogurt, using some things like that. They give you that same, okay, I just had my Big Mac sauce on my burger, I'm good to go now. I don't have to run over to McDonald's and grab a burger and then a fry and then a concrete mixer. And then I go back and get some more fries. And it's, that's ultimately the goal, is to make it, one, extremely convenient for people. I mean, if at the end of the day, if you can't get your stuff conveniently and make it as easy as possible to pick out your food, to order, to get your stuff. And then on top of that, there's the next layer of figuring out what that menu mix looks like, trying not to take away people's favorites while keeping it interesting.
Right.
And then, ultimately it's that adherence.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for the waffles to come back, bro. I mean, for real. I mean,
it's interesting though. So waffles specifically, and this is, kind of circling back to regulation. So our franchisee in Wilmer, Minnesota, they have a different local level inspection crew, obviously, being in a different county in a different state. they will not allow them to make waffles without certain accreditations on the equipment. And a commercial waffle maker is about $2,000 for one of them. So when we were doing waffles, we had probably 6 to 8 waffle makers going at one time. But because our regulatory body here in Eau Claire takes more of an approach of, hey, is this suitable for what they're doing? Is it safe? Is it easily cleanable? Yes, yes, yes. Okay, here's the go ahead. So we're working on trying to figure out how to make that come back as well.
You just make me some, like, I don't care. Like, I just, private stash, private order.
Absolutely.
But because that's what those workers want to do on Saturday is be like, oh, I'm fucking making just waffles for Cooper, asshole.
Absolutely.
So needy. But what else? I know you got, you're always working on new stuff and expansion. What's kind of been the latest for you is moving forward with NutriPrep and I know there has to be obviously some challenges.
Yeah. Well, right now it's really a lot of regulatory around our new packaging. So in order to do the packaging that we're doing with modified air, so we're sucking out all the oxygen, we're replacing it with CO2 and nitrogen. That required me to come up with it's called a HACCP plan, hazard analysis and critical control point plan, that I had to come up with, cite the Wisconsin Food Code, sign off from my local health inspector, but then we have to send it to the state, and the state has to say that we can use this packaging. That's been quite a process with that, but then we're also pursuing the state level licensing that would allow us to wholesale as well. Places like UW Eau Claire that have wanted meals for quite a while on campus. Most people don't realize in food, specifically if you have any sort of a protein, a meat in your product, you have to have state level meat processing plant license, and you have to have an inspector there physically watching you prepare the stuff before you can sell it to someone to be resold. And it's a lot of red tape that's been kind of bogged down in the beginning part of the year. But I think that really within the next month or so, we should see a lot of that kind of culminate into, being able to do that. On top of that, working with some new packaging stuff for new labels, doing some new shipping boxes, all that good stuff as well.
You trying to tell me, Dan, that sometimes the government doesn't work efficiently?
And I am. It's funny because, coming from, the first business that, I shouldn't say first, but one of the first businesses that I was involved in college was making supplements in the dorm rooms for a lot of my lifting buddies and stuff like that. When you come out of supplements that's regulated by the FDA, and it's more of a, you put something out and you hurt someone, okay, then they're going to come after you. Right. To the complete opposite end of the spectrum here, it's like you can't build anything until it goes through your health inspector, it goes through the state, it gets approved by X person, Y person, Z person, and then you can get started. And you don't even know if it's going to work yet.
Jeez. I had a friend of a friend at one point who was making thermogenics in his bathroom, like just mixing it and putting it in, capsule form. And, he did, I don't know if he outsourced for the packaging because it wasn't a sealed package, but that was my introduction to it, was like, yeah, this is from my friend so-and-so. And he's making it in his bathroom. I'm like, and that's like cool. Like then, like nobody's raising their hand, like somebody's making bathroom crank. And we're like, yeah, it's totally cool. I mean, if you start, if it's thermogenic, you're going to feel the reaction inside of your body because it heats you up and it increases your heart rate, and you're like,
plus probably some residue from the bathtub.
Yeah, just a little bit of shower residue. I mean, I'm sure that's just added flavor.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, it went from the exact opposite of that, because even as we got started, I had a lot of people that I grew up with that I knew that were like, hey, are you guys, doing this? Like, is everything safe? Is everything good? Like, yeah, we have health department licenses and they come in and they inspect us. Right. When it comes to food, there's not a whole lot of joking around. Like, you got to make sure you have your stuff in line so you don't get someone sick.
Right. And that's not a line that you want to skirt around either, because the repercussions of having an incident like that, that's going to be
Right.
no bueno for you.
Right. Exactly.
Awesome, man. You excited to get that bike out? Is that bike still sitting in the garage, just all sad and cold and shit?
Yep. It's out sitting in the shed. It's replaced right now with a snowblower.
Man. Did you get out much this last summer?
Not as much as I would have liked to. This last summer was a lot more on the NutriPrep side, kind of getting stuff going with Cobra and stuff like that. Definitely have some plans this upcoming, summer to get out and do some longer trips. It's part of the traveling we want to do is do on the bike, as well as then take the 4Runner out and do maybe a little bit of overland and go camp somewhere cool. But the bike isn't as comfortable to be on super long excursions. It's more of a jaunt kind of a bike.
Right. And you got a, lady friend and a couple of dogs to carry with you now. So there's, get your little
Get them all on a sidecar.
Sidecar. Yeah, man. Little goggles on the dogs, cartoon style.
Yes. Well, one of the dogs already has them. They're called doggles.
Doggles.
Yep.
I love it, man. Dan back from Midwest Meals and NutriPrep. I always appreciate the time, and always great to catch up and see what you got going on and pass on the good word of, man, just know what you put in your body. It seems so simple, but yet it's on a lot of people.
I know. And at the end of the day, all you got to do is get started and make it a habit long term, and you'll set yourself up for success. Whether you're busy to the point where you want to outsource prepping your meals to someone like us, or you're doing it all on Sunday, the key is to get started and get moving and grooving with it.
Yeah. Save yourself doing the dishes too. That's my biggest thing. I'm like, I got to clean forks. That's it. I just got forks and I'm
absolutely
awesome.
Yeah, appreciate the time, Coop.
Always, man. We'll get you back on here sometime soon. Take care, Dan.
Take care.
There you go. Dan Beck, Midwest Meals, man with a plan. Talking about good stuff too. I mean, it's a lot of the narrative that hasn't been discussed over the course of the last 10 and a half months that we've been going through this is, man, just nobody's saying eat right 100% of the time. I don't think that's a really feasible thing, but 80-20 should be attainable. Eat right, supplements. Check out the podcast I did with Dr. J. It talks about the things you need to be putting in your body that you just can't physically, no matter how much you eat, get enough of to get those nutrients in your body to help protect you, to help get your immune system stronger, help fight off the vid. The things you can be doing, things that are better than sitting on the couch and watching TV, but I do encourage you to eat healthy while you are sitting on your mobile device or your computer or your tablet watching this program, which is again streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and on Twitch. To all the followers who are watching right now, thank you so much for being a part of it. We got a couple minutes here before Corky Gangsford joins the show. We're going to talk to him about Code Red Riot and new music and more to get to. There's a big controversy going on in the NBA right now, mostly started by Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban, who made a decision not to play the national anthem before Mavericks home games down in Dallas, and the NBA said, yeah, let's not start that trend. So they were, as far as I know, they are basically going to be forced to continue to play the national anthem before each Dallas Mavericks home game. But it is strange times we're living in, folks. Strange times, and you never know what a move like that can do. In a very kind of scary, standoffish, brink of civil war-ish kind of world that we're living in. You don't want to be doing that shit, do you? Like, just kind of let things go, let things settle a little bit. But man, he's Mark Cuban. He's got enough money to maybe make those kind of decisions. But we'll take a short break. We'll be back with Corky Gangsford of Code Red Riot in just a bit. So stand by. Don't go. Here we go. That beat, though. Jamming to that beat here in the background. Cooperville Live on Facebook Live, on YouTube Live, on Twitch Live. Thank you all for staying tuned in with the show today. Lots to come still. Corky Gangsford of Code Red Ride is going to be joining us momentarily here, just getting set up on his end. So he'll be popping on in the broadcast. And if you have questions for Corky about anything, any of his projects he's got going on, of course, Code Red Riot, they got new music coming out very, very soon. Dude drums and Blue Man Group. He's got Corky G Art. He's got Delete Designs. He's just got a million irons in the fire. So very excited to catch up with him. It's been a minute. He actually sent me a copy of the new single, so I had a chance to jam out to that last night, and it was fucking amazing. So we'll chat with him about that and a whole bunch more. But there are things going on in the world of Shia LaBeouf. I just heard about this today, and I don't know. I have a kind of a, I don't know. Like the Transformers thing, cool. Like I liked it. I was okay with it. Everything else, I'm like, he's all right. Wasn't he in the Indiana Jones? He did one of like the Crystal Skull, Temple of the Crystal Skull. I don't know, something. Anyway, so Shia LaBeouf is apparently back in treatment. Which, I'm imagining dude's got plenty of money. I'm sure the first time or the second time he was in treatment probably paid pretty hefty for that. You think it'd, yield some results. Apparently not, as he's back in rehab. He was dropped from CAA, his talent agency, and his ex-girlfriend, who's it? FKA Twigs? I think she's a musician. I'm sure she's an artist. Lawsuit against him for some pretty serious allegations of abuse. I think we all at times complain about our our plot in life. Not all the time, but I think sometimes we get into kind of a, it must be nice thing, for those, the haves and the have lesses. Here's a dude that has it all, and obviously apparently a pretty deep rooted alcohol problem, as that I believe is what he's back in treatment for. That's what it was the last time. So I'm just making that assumption. Perhaps I shouldn't, but even when you have it all, you kind of got the world by the stuff, doesn't always pan out. So I just feel bad for the dude. And usually when you get in that kind of destructive state, and this, the story about the allegations pertaining to the lawsuit, they have been basically backed up by several other people involved in that situation, an assistant, and then Sia, I believe, the artist Sia is somehow tied into it as well. So, but man, that's tough. That's tough when you feel like you have all the things, you've worked to become an actor, worked to get into major movies and had some success and some wealth, and it just kind of goes to show it can all be taken away very quickly. I'm going to shoot a message over here to Corky, make sure that he's all good on his end, and get him on Code Red Riot. No Accident is the name of their new song, and that'll be dropping on the 12th, so just a couple of days from now. Code Red Riot on all the social medias, and coderedriot.com is the website. But we'll just shoot him a message here, make sure that he's all on the good, and get him on and chat it up. Apparently I can't type and talk at the same time. Multitasking. It's not so bueno. There we go. I'll make sure he's all set up. I do know with this, this kind of new platform that we've been doing with the live show, it can be difficult to jump on. You have to have a certain browser, and you have to make sure you have to check your camera, and you got to check your mic beforehand. It can be kind of a pain. I know we had a couple of guests that we were supposed to have on over the last couple of days that have had some challenges, but again, as the show grows, the equipment gets better, and eventually the show progresses into, I don't know, something big. I'm not sure what the end game is, but it's been fun. We'll take the time though to talk about kind of the rest of the week, and even looking into next week. Tomorrow on the show, that's Thursday, going to have Joey Chicago Walzer on, of course, Devour the Day in Egypt Central. Also Third Eye Hat Company, he's going to be on. Todd Whitener from Blitzkrieg, a new band, Blitzkrieg. Todd was actually a part of starting Tantric in Days of the New, and now this project, Blitzkrieg, like Blitzkrieg, but it's Bliss, Bliss. So he is going to be on coming up tomorrow. We have Andrew Calvino, fitness athlete and host of the Content Inspire podcast. He will be on. Also podcast host Joshua Toomey from the Talk to Me podcast. So you're getting a couple of podcast hosts on the show as well. So really looking forward to that. That's coming up tomorrow. Again, that is going to be on 3 until 6 p.m. Central on Facebook, on YouTube, and on the Twitch. You say his name too many times, he's like Beetlejuice. He shows up, you click your heels together too many times, and here he is, Kirky Gangsford, Code Red Riot, my long lost friend. How you doing, sir? Oh, we got to get your mic working here. Let me make sure we got you unmuted here. Microphone. Check 1 2.
We're gonna go back to this.
There.
Now you can hear me, huh?
Now I can hear you.
See, I tried to go high tech. With my Shure mic, and I had it working in Zoom, and then I came over to this other platform and it decided not work. So I'm sorry.
It's all good. Hey, you sound as bright as you sound great. You sound amazing. I think there's some weird settings in here that I always have, even though I use this on the daily basis, I have to go back in, reset to the USB and bring everything in. I don't know. Technology, it's great.
My kids are professionals at this, but I am not. So that's how it goes.
You bring those hey, I have a question. How does this work? I've done that before with my kid. I'm like, what's this new app that all the hip people are on? I should.
Yeah, and it used to be making fun of our parents for not knowing how a Walkman works or something, and now it's flipped over to I don't understand how you can't understand Zoom settings or whatever. So
I know the Walkman. That reminds me. I saw this. Somebody posted this, and this was like one of those things that makes you feel like ancient.
Yeah.
But remember the Discman, but they had the little tape that connected into the tape player. You could put the tape in the tape deck, and you could play CDs from the Discman.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it would skip every time you hit a bump. It like,
yep.
Back when CDs were apparently a thing. How you doing, my friend?
Doing very good. Very good.
You're out in Vegas still?
Yes. That is home base. And Vegas has treated me well. I've been out here since 2001. So I'm in a couple months, I've been here 20 years. And I have at this point lived here longer than any other place I've lived in, which is funny. Like, I grew up in Seattle and all that kind of stuff, but like at this point I'm a Vegas local for many, many years.
When you got there, going on 20 years ago, did you think like this is going to be my spot? This is where I'm setting the flag down? And
I anticipated 6 months. I literally, I like before I came to Vegas, I was doing marketing and event planning for .com companies, and the .com business had crashed. I was working for eMusic at the time, which was working with a bunch of indie labels and independent artists. And essentially we all got let go. I mean, very similar to the COVID pandemic, right? Like it was like one day we were fine for a few years, and the next thing we know, all of us lost our jobs. And I'm living in San Francisco and nobody's hiring. I'm sending out resumes every day, every week. I think I had one interview over the course of 3 months. And at the end of all this, as I'm literally going broke and getting ready to move back to Seattle to go move back in with my parents who have no money, I see an ad in the paper that says Blue Man Group hiring guitar players and drummers. And I literally was at that point where I was like, I have nothing to do today, and I have I was like, I play drums. I'm never going to get this gig, so I might as well show up because I have no other reason to do anything today. And stood in line with like 300 other dudes, and within that month had gotten hired to be a drummer in the Blue Man Group and moved down to Vegas. And that was literally like, I was like 6 months, and then I'll have my career set up and figure out where I'm moving next. And next thing you know, I just never left.
and that's where our story begins.
I know, right?
Into the future. That's crazy. I mean, it's weird how I want to say how, and it is how life works. I mean, obviously you have, if you're in San Francisco and you have kind of like you kind of got it. I'm gonna say figured out, because I don't know if we ever have it figured out.
But you think you had it figured out?
Like, yeah, it's good. I feel like I'm set here. This is a good environment for me to be in, and opportunities end and new opportunities come up. But of all things, I like how you said I play drums, but
that was literally my thought. Like I'd quit drums and kind of quit playing music entirely when I went into the regular business world. And I thankfully was working for a music company,
right?
But so that was enjoyable. But like I kind of quit, and after I'd been there for a while, same thing. I mean, because this is back in the days of like classified ads and newspapers. So like one day I picked up the newspaper and I answered 2 classified ads for looking for a drummer. And my audition for this band, I was setting up my drums. I hadn't touched drums in like 2 years. And I'm just like trying to remember how to put it together, but acting like I knew what I'm doing and all that kind of stuff. And it was funny because like I got that gig a week later. I'm playing in front of like 400 people, which at that point in time was the biggest crowd I'd ever played in front of. Mm-hmm. And then a year later was this Blue Man audition. If I hadn't answered those classified ads,
right,
I wouldn't even have had the chops to audition for Blue Man Group a year later. I was so rusty and all that kind of stuff. So it was just like a matter of, those times in life when you're like, I don't know, I got to try something new. So let me just try this today and see where it takes me. And every time I've done that, it's been a positive down the road. So.
Cool. And what is it like being a part of? It's something as iconic. Culturally iconic as Blue Man Group is. You can just say that, and people know. Oh yeah, the those guys.
Yeah.
I know you're talking about. Yeah, they do the things. They do the things with the stuff.
It's funny when you run into someone who doesn't know.
Yeah,
you're like, wait, what? Yeah.
Like, you mean the Smurfs? No, you're too. You don't understand. You're out of the loop, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I did have. I was fortunate at the time. Like when I auditioned, they had never auditioned on the West Coast. Like that company was primarily New York, Boston, Chicago. They just opened in Vegas. So us on the West Coast, I really didn't know what I was auditioning for. Like I'd seen 3 blue guys on an Intel ad, and that was my entire knowledge of the group. My roommate's girlfriend kind of talked me into the whole, like, seriously, I've seen the show in Boston. It was good. You should go try it. And that scene, I'm like, well, I have no reason to not try out. But, so at the time I had the fortune of like not really knowing what I was auditioning for. I just kind of walked in loose going like, hey, I play drums. Let's have some fun. Right. And like, it was really the biggest lesson in how to audition for anything or how to walk into an interview, whatever. Like I was fortunate enough to not be nervous because I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew, hey, they're hiring drummers. So why not? And then like down the line, it's like, I've seen it grow and I've like seen it more become part of the subconscious, theater world, or, like you say, known really worldwide at this point. It's cool because it's kind of, no one knows who we are because we're all in costume and under makeup and black light and that kind of thing. But there's a certain brotherhood to it that, there are musicians that I've never met that have played in the, Florida show or the Berlin show or some of the tour shows and that kind of thing. But we all know there's a certain foundation to both how we approach our instruments and our just philosophies of walking on stage and philosophy. Like Blue Man looks for people that can make mistakes on stage and go, okay, cool. And just move on. And there's a certain trait that I feel like I could walk on stage with any Blue Man person and get through a show no matter what we're doing. And that's really the coolest part as a musician,
That's awesome, dude. I think that's, to be a part of that that story, that the storyline and the narrative of Blue Man groups. I mean, it's just got. I mean, even though you're not, it's different from being in like, I'm in this band, and even as a drummer, even as a guitar player, even as a bass player, you're like, oh yeah, you're in that band. Where this is more like,
yeah. Totally.
Like John Cena, like you can't see me, I'm in the back. But it's the nature of it though, and I'm sure the energy of it is got to be incredibly fulfilling.
Yeah, it is. It's a really fun show to play, and really with like, some of my favorite musicians. Period. Mm-hmm. Like yeah, there's for drummers, there's the John Bonhams and the Chad Smiths and Dave Grohls and all that kind of stuff, and then there's like, oh yeah, this dude from Blue Man that you've never heard of before, but he's like one of the baddest dudes I've ever seen behind a kit. So it's really a lot of fun, and it's like you never quite know what you're gonna get, even after 20 years. Like I do know what, and same thing, like those other musicians, they know what I'm gonna play before I even play it at this point. Like, cause I'm still playing music with some of the dudes that were there 20 years ago when I auditioned. We're all still in that circuit. So, I've been playing music with these guys longer than the people that I grew up with and went to elementary school and middle school and high school. You know what I mean? Like we've surpassed that amount of time playing music together. And it's like, I think the number is I've played like 4,000 to 5,000 Blue Man shows alone. I mean, it's absurd. So like I say, like we all know what we're going to do before we know everybody's tendencies. And so the best part is like trying to throw tricks at other people, catch them off guard.
Yeah, throw them off a little bit. Like, wait a minute, I was not expecting that.
Exactly. And I love, like, I really love seeing that translate into like rock and roll and that kind of thing. And it's something that, as an entertainer, you don't see very often. But it's like every once in a while, whether it's like a front man that can kind of riff on stage, or it's like, Steel Panther does a great job of although I'm sure stuff is scripted, they also make it sure that it looks like it's off the cuff, and then some of it is off the cuff, all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And it's what makes them great. On top of them being fabulous musicians, it's that you don't quite know what's going to happen next factor, and that kind of happened every night with Blue Man, which is great.
Yeah, Steel Panther, man. I don't think they get the credit for being as great of musicians as they are. Just
Oh, yeah.
because of the theatrics and the show and even the lyrics and just the whole. I'm like, dude, these guys are super fucking talented. Like it's insane how good they are.
And it's the classic story too of like, I mean, those are the same dudes that obviously on top of original music, they have years of playing cover gigs. I first saw them playing like a little hole in the wall in Vegas with, I think it was the singer and guitar player only at that point in time, covering in like a Van Halen cover band. And I was like, these guys are awesome, you know, and I've seen them and back when Otherwise was the year before we signed our record deal, we were doing residencies with Steel Panther in Las Vegas. So it was like, it was Otherwise and Steel Panther every 4 weeks at one of the casinos here. And those nights were awesome. And it was like same thing. Like those guys were just getting ready to blow up, you know, and we were just getting ready to sign our record deal. It was a lot of fun. And like I was able to watch and study their show, you know, every month and see how they were putting it all together. And it was really, really cool.
Yeah. It's and kudos to them for the amount of success that they've garnered for themselves. Cause really they've done it without much attention from, you know, how some bands can make it without any attention from radio.
Yeah.
You know, because it's really having been in radio for 20 years, I'm like, man, I really would like to play that song, but it's gonna be kind of challenging to play the song when you have to. It's just basically one long bleep and then the guitar and then some more bleeps. But they've done it, you know, to the fullest extent, and kudos to them because they're super talented guys.
Yeah, and it goes back to that whole story of like, you know, if you can make it by creating your own niche, it really is something special, and they certainly have their own niche.
Very cool stuff. Well, we're getting some comments in here. This is a cool part of the show. We get to add some things in here. It's from Colin Resch. Says, you may be one of the most talented person I know. Who to you is the most talented person you've ever known?
Ooh, most talented.
You're gonna put somebody. Everybody else who doesn't make the list can be like,
well, the funny part is like Colin's talent. Colin is a guy I grew up with, and Colin's talent is part of what helped put me into music. He showed up in 9th grade, and he took my position on the basketball team. Now, Colin was very talented at basketball, and I was not very talented. I was just the dude that would hustle and could kind of pass the ball around and hopefully make something happen. So when Colin showed up and took my position, and I basically got benched for the year, I was like, man, those people in the band look like they're having a lot of fun. And I'm, you know, and at this point I'm playing drums and whatnot. And I was like, there's a lot of girls over there in the band too. And if I was playing drums, I'd be able to hang out with the girls. And instead I'm just sitting here on the bench. So I think I'm going to quit basketball and I'm going to go play music. And I always have Colin to thank for that.
He led you down the path because of his basketball skill. That's
exactly.
Hilarious, man.
Exactly, and he ended up turning into like a sportscaster, and he still does sports stuff to this day. So Colin's great. It's always good to see that guy.
But you've worked with, you know, a ton of talented people. I think when you talk about Blue Man Group, I mean, you have exceptional talent on every level when you get to walk in and play with those guys. But you know, were there iconic people that you idolized? I guess, especially, you know, being behind the kit. You know, there's certain drummers that do it some way. There's drummers that do it like it's nothing else is happening in the world. And
right.
You know, the head just kind of moves, and then there's guys that just, you know, that kill it. Like, were there people that you idolize? You know, and I'm kind of, you know, taken away from Colin's question here, but were there guys when you were growing up as a drummer that you were like, some things from him, and some things from him?
Oh, for sure. And that developed over time in terms of who basically, as we like to say, we like to, you know, steal things from the other guys that you like and see what you can do with those things yourself.
Right.
Mine was always like Tommy Lee was number one. Like Motley Crue was my first concert, and it was in I think it was in the Tacoma Dome outside Seattle. And it was like, right at that point, I just started like getting serious about trying to play and that kind of thing. And then I saw that concert and I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. I totally want to do this the rest of my life. you know. So Tommy Lee was always at the top of that list. And then, you know, but like, it'd be like Ian Pace from you know, Deep Purple. I didn't discover till I was in Blue Man, and I had another drummer going like, "Why don't you know Deep Purple?" And I'm like, I don't know. My dad, I guess, never listened to him. I have no idea. And then like the first 8 measures or 16 measures of the first Deep Purple song I played, I was like, this guy is awesome. You know, that kind of thing. But you know, I grew up liking you know, the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Chad Smith was a huge influence on like their Blood Sugar Sex Magic album. Guns N' Roses, I knew Appetite for Destruction back to front, like every single note that Steven Adler was playing.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's funny how even to this day I've learned so much about not only drumming, but like from working in the studio with producers about like why they, you know, essentially you'll go into the studio with a song and you'll, especially like for our first Otherwise record, for example, like I was like, yeah, I got this album down. We've been rehearsing. I'm ready to go. Hit record. Let's do this. And I hit record on the first song, and the producer's like, dude, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm, you know, playing the parts. And he's like, that's not the part. You know what I mean? And so you know, you go through these experiences of like, okay, like this is why you change your kick drum pattern here. This is why you know, all that kind of stuff. And so even after all of that, when I'm coming up with parts of this day, I'll still want to reference like, okay, you know, what would Steven Adler have done on this? What would, you know, and kind of meld the two of like what's happening, you know, today with drumming with, you know, what worked 20 or 30 years ago, because in there is usually the right answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the Motley Crue Tommy Lee thing, because here's what I'm envisioning, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think any musician who I want to say was alive, but got to kind of witness how Motley Crue did it. Of course, I mean, if you're a dude, whatever, 89, 92, you're like, yeah, I want to do that. Whatever that looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, and granted, back in the day, we only got the surface level of what was happening.
Right.
So
you only saw the show.
And I was tiny, so you know, I didn't know anything about any of the debauchery. I just knew like those dudes were walking on stage with these cool costumes, like, and everybody's going nuts, you know. And I liked the guitar riffs, and I liked the drum beats, and you know, and it was just like, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And you know, I mean, I certainly missed that era of like of only getting to know that part, you know, because then you know, you start meeting some musicians more, and you're like, ooh. Like the music.
Yeah, I mean, it took a book. It took a book to get the stories of Motley Crue out. And imagine if, like, because half of that they don't like. They're probably put together some stuff, but there's got to be giant blank spaces where even more debaucherous things happen.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't remember. I have no idea.
Yeah.
No clue. Sure, probably did that. You know.
Yep.
That's wild though.
Yeah.
Got some more people jumping on here on Facebook. Chaz says, "You're the real deal."
Hey, Chaz.
About that. And yeah, inspire drummers to be better drummers. You're an inspiration, Corky. Inspiration.
That's nice. Chaz is a quite solid drummer with a quite solid career behind him himself. So that's a very nice compliment. Thanks,
very
Chaz.
awesome. And thanks to everybody who's tuning in and joining in the conversation. Appreciate it on all the platforms. But you know, when you have something as I'll say steady, you know, Blue Man Group for 20 years, obviously there's been times in there with Otherwise and going off and doing other projects, starting Code Red Riot. And I love the post you put up the other day about diversifying, you know, because you have, it's not just Code Red Riot. It's not just Blue Man Group. You know, you got art, you got it's like a clothing design company going on too.
Yeah.
And still working on music. I'm sure you're working with other artists and stuff. Like, has Blue Man Group become the this is the steady and everything else can just, you know, you can diversify because you have all these other talents that you can fulfill?
Yeah, and it was like that for a long time. Like my first, let's see, like when my first year in the company, had started a band with 3 other guys from Blue Man Group, and then it was funny, like that was literally like when the Killers were doing gigs in clubs in Vegas. we were the band that played gigs with them, and I like it was it's funny. The Killers were not a very good band when they started. They developed.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like quite
Right.
frankly, like the nuggets and the songs were there, but the performance had to develop in clubs, like the age-old story. And met them through a friend of a friend, and I'd book a gig, and I just, hey guys, you want to play the Rock, this Saturday, that kind of thing. And so that band was doing some fun stuff, and then I got picked for a Blue Man tour, and I left for a year, came back, played with other bands. I'd been doing side projects, I mean, the entire time that I was with Blue Man, whether it was recordings or playing gigs around Vegas with bands, touring the region with bands, and otherwise was the one that ended up sticking. I think I'd played with probably 15 other bands in Vegas by that point in time.
Right.
But they had developed something on the ground level here in Vegas, and had just started to try to get to LA and that kind of thing when I joined up, and we started doing demos in my garage. And I think Soldiers was the second or third song we did in my garage. And then when we recorded that, it was like, guys, you might kind of have something here, like this, right. Really good song. And so, when that happened, I left for a few years, but it was like we would leave on tour for 2 months, 3 months. I'd be home for 2 weeks, and Blue Man would throw me right back in shows for 2 weeks.
There's no
awesome. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
I'd split for another few months, that kind of thing. So and Blue Man was a full-time gig for 10 years, but I had to essentially quit when the Otherwise thing started. So I've been part-time and touring and one-off gigs and all that kind of stuff pretty much ever since then. And so I've been having to do, I'll do Blue Man's shows, I'll do some cover gigs down on Fremont Street, I'll play a gig with some friends at a rock club, I'll record a band. It's been very, very piecemeal, and it's been cool to like make it really work, because it's not easy, and it's not when you don't have the steady paycheck, it certainly is not comforting, but somehow it all ends up working out, and that's been my reality really since 2012, is just piecing together various forms of work, and the pandemic allowed me to go, okay, if I'm not drumming, what other things would I like to do? And that's where like the t-shirt design stuff comes in, and the artwork and all that kind of stuff. Like, and it's all, certainly a little bit of grasping at straws. I'm like, I don't know, but the same thing, like as going back to the audition with Blue Man, I don't know if any of it's going to work, but it's a lot of fun, and there's been a decent response. So let's, keep going with it and see what happens.
Yeah, I was going to ask how that's been. We got some comments I want to get to here in a second. So guys and gals who are watching on the socials, thank you. Hold out just thinking. But, I remember seeing video, kind of when, the pandemic locked everything down. And of all the things, and there were some wild videos and stuff out there, but of all the things that made me think like they're probably filming some apocalyptic movie, was a scene from The Strip with nobody there. I mean, like Jonestown the morning after. I'm like, whoa, like that's scary. I mean, that was
super
really
weird.
Scary vision.
We drove down it once in the middle of all that, and I got a couple of photos, and it was just like, I mean, I hope we never see. I'm like, we'll never see this again, hopefully. But like, it doesn't make any sense. It still doesn't make any sense, that it's just like, here's this area that's been hugely populated for decades, just ghost town. And I mean, at the end of every year, I do a year book, for my family and whatnot, of photos of the year. And like, there's a little section of like the Strip empty, because I'm like, well, here's the year that this happened.
here's hoping we never ever see this again, because that was, like I said, it was one of those images and the videos that came out. I mean, you saw stuff from New York and you saw stuff from LA, but for a place like the Strip or Fremont, I mean, it was like, having been there several times, I'm like, it doesn't matter what time of day it is.
Yeah,
there's always people, there's always movement, there's always hustle, there's always things going on. It was I think for me at least, it brought like, oh, like this is some shit. Like this, they're not shutting down Vegas if this is like, yeah, I know it's fine. Either the aliens are coming, the zombies are about to attack, or like they shut down the strip.
Yeah, and I mean, really, they've you know, I've seen clips of like even now, like bands are starting to go back on the road and do some shows and that kind of thing. And I mean, like, dude, Vegas is still completely like shut down. So it's like, you know, all the guys that had steady gigs with the Blue Mans and Cirque du Soleil shows, is like those guys are just as out of work as the guys that were playing 5-6 nights a week on Fremont Street. You know, like that were like piecing together gigs. Like we're all just out of work and trying to figure out what to do. I mean, there's a lot of guys that, you know, they're working for the post office, you know, or just figuring out something to do at the time.
But it has given you a chance, like you mentioned, because you're not doing drumming, you're not doing. I mean, we'll talk about Code Red Riot and the great new song which drops on Friday. But this has given you maybe, I want to say maybe for the first time in a very long time, opportunity to focus on those other things that you're passionate about, including the art and the design stuff.
Yeah, it's been a huge bonus in hindsight. You know, I mean, because I think all of us, like, when this all happened, it was like, hey, I got a couple of months, you know, sort something out, and then we'll go right back to it. So like, I spent the first couple of months studying recording, and I mean, I've been studying recording for 25 years, but there's always stuff to learn, right? You know, so I was like, let me just really dig into this and, you know, see what I can update, see what I can make better, and take myself, you know, back to school for a couple months, because I love recording. I'll always love recording. Like, you know, if I'm not recording my own music, my next favorite thing to do is to record bands and record other people. Like that's what I love. So I'm like, I'm at home. I might as well make myself better at this, you know? And then a couple months go by and you're like, wow, well, okay, that was fun and informative, but now what are we doing? You know, that kind of thing. And then so like as things move on, you're like, oh well, I really gotta, you know, sort this out. I'd like to try this, or I'd like to, you know, and you stumble onto various things. But like, so it's now that I've kind of developed a few things that I do like to do. Like I'm like, this is awesome. Like, let's, you know, keep rolling with it. But like, I mean, there's just been question marks underneath everything, the entire process, right?
Yeah, it's I think it's super weird for everybody. You know, when we started off, like you said, it's like, well, we had 15 days to flatten the curve.
Yeah.
I went to 30. 9 months.
And I mean, I was on the Blue Man tour. This started like summer of 2019, and my contract was through most of 2020. And I was walking the sound check in Syracuse, New York, and got a text saying, go back to the hotel. And then by the next morning, we were going to the airport to fly home. It's just like, I was like, what?
What apocalyptic shit is happening right now?
Yeah, it was really, really weird. And so like the stage had been loaded in, the crew stayed behind that one extra day to unload. Right. And then we were all, that was it. Just like that.
See, Chris Frankie through BMX.
Yes.
Years before you knew you were a drummer. Yes. Inspirational as a musician. You got a lot of Corky G fan club.
These are all good guys. It's awesome. Thanks for the compliment, Chris. Yeah. It's funny. One of the other things that isn't a business by any means, but it's something I've been also doing during the pandemic is I was a BMX racer pretty much from when I was 6 years old up to through college.
Wow.
So this is running like 82, 83 up through the mid 90s. And I was factory sponsored and raced on the national and world circuit for about 10 of those years. And so my dad, thankfully, and his friends took videos of all these things, and they are all on VHS tapes for decades.
Nice.
And so they've been sitting at my parents' house, and my mom also during the pandemic was like, I need to get rid of these VHS tapes, so I'm going to transfer all of them to DVD. and you are going to do whatever you want with them, but I need these VHS tapes gone, like boxes and boxes and boxes. And so bless her heart, so bless my dad for filming all these races for decades. My mom, dude, she would hit record and then leave for like 2 hours and come back, and the tape would basically be done, to go do the next thing. And little by little, I have all these things, and I've been getting them digitized on the computer. And then I started a YouTube page called BMX Archive, and I've just been uploading all of these old tapes, which has been a lot of fun because, I mean, obviously, like the racers that I'm sending them to, like, hey, Alexis and Randy, like, check this race out from 30 years ago or 20 years ago, whatever. But it's a nice little nugget of both BMX history and just like fun things to do, and that's been like a fun thing to do during the pandemic. What I should do is start selling BMX Archive shirts. That I gotta come up with a design.
Diversify.
Yeah, diversify. I've been now that I'm collecting some subscribers on there.
That's crazy.
I like to call BMX my past life, but I love it, and I mean, dude, I had crazy experiences traveling the world, before I was 18, and it's why a lot of times, like, I love being on the road and I love traveling as a musician because I've already done it while I was growing up, and it's it's a fun thing. I love it.
No, I think the most challenging part there is like your mom finding all these boxes, and nobody except for the people that digitize that stuff professionally has a VCR. Like, nobody's got one.
Oh yeah.
What do you do?
It's the machine with the VHS and a DVD recorder, and it still works. And she just boom and just lets it roll. And they got this little like, I almost want to call it like it's not a flat screen TV. It's like some other old school TV that they're watching, as it's dubbing over. Like, I mean, it's the old school setup. And then every once in a while, like during the pandemic, she would just come over and there'd be this another stack of DVDs. She's like, "Here you go. Can I throw away the VHSs?" Yes, you can.
Now you can.
Yeah.
This stuff, and I make my own T-shirts out of it now. We've come up with a new creative idea.
Yeah.
That's great, man. That's great. VHS tapes. That's come across those once in a while, like just because randomly moving, I think, throughout the course of life. And I'd be like, and if it doesn't have a label on it, I'm like,
Yeah.
Like, I almost want to go and find a VHS player just to be like, let's see what's on here.
Let me show you this. One of the other things I did, which I'm also getting ready to see. I've been busy. I don't know if these are like high 8 tapes, right?
Oh yeah.
When I started recording, I was recording in college on DA88 machines. So there's like, it's after ADAT, but before really like Computer Pro Tools. So this is 8 tracks of recording, and we'd have 2 machines synced up for the 16 tracks, and that was how I record. So at one point, I got a hair up my ass saying, I'm going to take these college recordings with my band that we did in college, and I'm going to put them in Pro Tools, and I'm going to remix them and make these souped up and modern, mixes of these recordings we did all these years ago. Finding those machines was the most difficult thing I think I've done all of pandemic, because maybe there are 4 or 5 on eBay and Reverb at a time total. And usually they say, I don't know, power's up. I don't know if it works.
Right. I got no tape to prove it.
I don't have any tapes. I can't test it. So, buy at your own risk. And I ended up buying 3 of them, and I got 1 to work.
That's usually the odds. You're like, well,
but
I'm not really sure about working.
Totally. But I got the stuff into the computer, and I've been little by little mixing that stuff. And the guys, I mean, dude, this is a band I was in over 20 years ago, and the guys are like, these sound awesome. And I was like, I kind of think we should release this stuff just to get it out there, right? And they're like, dude, whatever, let's just do it. So just do it. I'm getting through them. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I was hoping to get through it all over the Christmas holidays, and I ended up kind of getting through half of what I had. So we'll get back to it soon enough.
I mean, I guess if you're looking for silver linings in all of the, well, we can't go out and do X, Y, and Z, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
digitized all my BMX videos from 30 years ago. I got some new music from 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Colin's going to send your mom all of his old college streams.
Awesome.
Oh man. See, I was thinking that when you were saying that, I'm like, I know there's companies that do that. Like you can send them all of your old archival footage or your old photos and they digitize them all. I'm like, Mom can have a little side gig there. Like, hey, I got the equipment to do it and make it happen.
Totally could. Or I'll talk her into giving me the machine.
There you go.
I can start
Still some of that. You still sitting on that
yeah, exactly.
DVD recorder, Mom? I need to borrow that.
$50 for that recorder, and then we'll go from there.
And you know that it works.
Yeah.
And it's operational.
Yeah, I felt bad for. So I mean, the guys that I bought from actually like all were like, yeah, it works just fine. And then like this one guy sent it, and I was like, actually, I had a spare tape that I could test, and I wasn't too mad, but your machine ate my tape, so like it actually doesn't work. And then it turned into like, well, the guy I got it from said it worked. I was like, yeah, but you posted it saying that it worked, and it just ate my tape.
Those are the kind of things. Those are the kind of tragic moments, even growing up, that our children will never have to worry about. Remember when like a cassette tape would get all chewed up?
Oh yeah.
Put the pencil inside of it, and you were like,
dude, I was doing the exact same. And these DA80 or the high 8 tapes, they don't work the same way as the cassettes. They it's a whole nother thing, and it was a lot more. But I literally was here I was with a screwdriver, like trying to wind the tape back in. Oh my god! Like I was like, here we are again, all these years later.
What is old is, well, they say what's old, is now new again. Everything's going to come back. I haven't seen a new vehicle put a cassette tape player in it. They're not even making cars with CDs in them anymore.
Right.
You just tell your robot to play your music, right?
Yep.
Speaking of music, you guys got a new track dropping on Friday. That's the 12th.
Yes.
Which is killer. Thank you for giving me an advance listen to it. And you had some great descriptive words to it as well. Like some sort of orgy, Chili's, and like a bunch of different other artists. And I'm like, because you say that and you kind of get stuck in the back of your head. Then you listen to it, you're like, oh yeah, oh yeah. It's this is all going on right at once.
Yes. It was. I mean, it's funny. It's the first song that I wrote. I think really ever the first song I wrote where I wrote the lyrics first. Very Elton John style, right? Where like. It was like one of those things where like the lyric and the cadence kind of popped in my head, and so I wrote it down. And I wrote, this is a while ago. Like, I wrote most of it down backstage at a Blue Man show in between shows. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was like, wow, those are good lyrics. I should write some music to go with that. And then like, I was like, well, this sounds fun. And I love the dichotomy of like I say it's like kind of Nirvana, Chili Peppers, and Rage Against the Machine kind of all thrown together in a blender, and so like that you can definitely feel some of the Rage and Chili Pepper stuff in the verses, and then when the chorus hits, it's like a very specifically Nirvana kind of chord progression, all this kind of stuff, and it was really fun to put together that way, and I was like I have this message that I wanted to write down in the song, convey in the song. How do I do that musically? And
no, maybe lose Corky. Let's see if he comes back. This is the great part. There he is.
Oh, hold up. There we go.
There you go.
Yep. So like one of the coolest things about like doing Code Red Riot independently is I can do whatever I want. So like I had the song was basically done, and then a friend of mine was like, hey man, I have this idea for a bass line for your song that it's different than what you have there, but I'm just gonna record it, and then if you like it, great, and if you don't, whatever. It's I think it's fun. And he sent like this slapping, very Flea, crazy funk bass line, and I was like, I think you need to come over to my house and we need to record this. So I literally thought the song was done, and the next thing I know, I'm like completely redoing the bass with this friend of mine, and I was like, well, I was pretty excited about the song before, but now we did something pretty cool here. And back in the label days, the label would be like, you can't record with that guy. He's not in your band. He's not on your record contract. And now I'm like, dude, let's just do some fun stuff and put it out there. And the whole experience is a lot, both more fun and more rewarding and all that kind of stuff. Just like, I'm not putting music out that I'm apprehensive about, or I don't feel like I had to make concessions to make somebody else happy, or I didn't have to make changes because someone at the label thought that I should. There's all those things that go on behind the scenes, which there are times where it's helpful. Like I had my song Slide, I was forced to write because the label was like, your record's not done until you write one more song. And I wrote it over dinner break in the studio, and that's like one of my favorite and best songs that I was forced to write in 30 minutes. So there is a positive to that, but at a certain point, you also just want to be like, I just want to do what I want to do, and I want to put it out there, and that's where I'm at now, and it's super fun and super rewarding, and it kind of, so like as a musician and creative, like it makes it more rewarding when people like the stuff. So I'm like, well, that's what I got, So when there's a response to it, it's super, super cool to see. And it's really like a blessing after putting in all that hard work, because there's a million other musicians out there putting in just as much work that don't get that response, So I do whatever I can do as best as I can, have fun, and when guys like it, I'm just like, that's awesome. Let's do another.
You give me another bass line. Let me write the lyrics. I'm gonna Elton John the rest of I'm gonna do an EP. It's all gonna be done Elton John style. It's gonna figure it out later.
Yeah.
It's gotta be though super freeing for you as an artist, and I know a handful of other artists in bands that they're doing it their own way. They're doing it independently, and obviously there's some benefit to the label process of it. But when it comes to complete creative freedom, like you mentioned, the things that you want to do, the way you want it to sound, the ability to go, well, I had this bass line, but dude over here just dropped some wicked shit. And I'm like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's got to be, as an artist in that capacity, that's got to be the most freeing thing.
Yeah. You just follow wherever it takes you, and that's the best part is like, there's plenty of stuff I've thrown away along the process too, but like it's like when you find things that excite you, you just go with it, and there's no one telling you not to, So it's a lot of fun, and I mean the way the state of the record business as it is like it's becoming, fewer and fewer bands are being signed to labels, and fewer and fewer bands are getting that opportunity just because the budgets are smaller, and if the labels aren't making money, they can't spend the money on artists. So a lot of us are doing it independently, both by choice and by just nature of where the business is at right now. I've seen, it's disheartening to see the number of bands I've seen, especially over the pandemic, but even before the pandemic, going like, we're done.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, that was a great band. And you just know that without, like think of how many bands in the 70s and 80s in particular, when the record labels were making money, how many of those bands, if they didn't have support, would have stopped after their first record? It would have been a ton. And they didn't get good till, and didn't get popular till the third and fourth record. And musicians these days don't have that luxury to do it under the same band name and develop their craft and all that kind of stuff. So, I'm at where I'm at, which is a fine, point of being able to, like I was saying, being able to release music, and some people will hear it and they'll like it, and that's great. And some won't. That's totally fine. But like, I've been through the ringer enough that my craft has developed over several records. So I feel great about where I'm at, and I know that I'm making informed choices in the music that I'm creating. But I'm a guy, doing what I can without label support, putting music out and hoping for the best, So,
Another
one of those things where the hardest thing to do is just keep going.
No, you're good. You're good. That was
but yeah, I was saying like the hardest thing to do is just keep going
right.
and keep creating, because it takes time and it takes money to do it.
Apparently that makes the world go round. I don't understand.
Right. I just revamped my entire recording studio on finances going, well, I'm sure I can come up with these payments somehow. I got 4 years to pay off this gear and this computer, and but I'm just like,
fine.
like I don't know. Well, and then if it's not working, I guess you can sell the gear and pay it off that way.
Right, and sell it on eBay, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Who gives a shit, right?
Yeah, but you got to try.
It just the guy I bought it from said it worked, so it probably worked. Maybe not. I think so I've been on a radio now for two, and really find is great music that's, I want to say indie, but I want to say like, independent artists doing their own thing, full creative control, things that aren't force fed, things that aren't the top four that are always, it feels like, especially in rock, it's like, well, there's the four and then there's the people that are trying to get into the top four, but it doesn't seem like they're getting let in. I've discovered so much great music and have shared so much great music since I've been out, just because I can discover it on my own. And I think the great thing for artists like you is you have great connections in radio too, because you've made your mark across the country, radio guys and stuff like that. But you understand that there are other ways to have people hear your music than the old standard of here's how it works. It goes, you overproduce it and you package it up really pretty, and then you send the radio guy a T-shirt and a CD, and you go, here you go, play this. And
right.
But I think that the arena is more open now, where you can get out and it may not be as lucrative without label support, but you still can get your music out there in your own way without having the barriers that are up when you do have to deal with some of the record label shit.
For sure. I mean, like, I always feel blessed every time I put something out, and like I can like talk to someone like you, or like I say, get the song on the radio, whatever. I was driving in my car yesterday, like remembering what it was like when all I ever wanted to do was get a song on the radio. Mm-hmm. Just to be able to hear your song over the airwaves, you know what I mean? So like, it's always a blessing, and I'm always psyched to get stuff out there, and like I say, any response is a good response. There's a response and people are listening to it, and there's
awesome.
as much as the industry has changed, like the benefits of being able to click on whatever song you want and hear it. It's got its positives and negatives,
mm-hmm.
but the positives are people can hear your stuff and it's at a click of a button.
All right, we gotta get some comments on here. Let's see, we got
Craig
Roberts, West Virginia in the house.
Yes.
That's awesome. Thanks, Craig, for tuning in. What else we got jumping on here? Craig, independent is becoming more and more popular. I think that's absolutely true, because people are, especially a younger generation, that aren't so, they're not so tied to, I want to say the FM dial necessarily, but they know they can fall down a rabbit hole. If there's artists that are like you, they can, either it's on Spotify, or they can even jump down a rabbit hole on YouTube. They end up watching your BMX mixes, and next thing you know, they're buying a T-shirt. But I think there's more. There is, the opportunity is there more than it has been in the past with the options that are there. They may not be, I know the Spotify numbers aren't, you're not collecting that check and like, I can pay off all this equipment now.
Right.
But it's nice.
I will say like one of the most frustrating things being on a label where certain comments or conversations where it was like, oh, well, this song is number one right now, so you guys should be writing a song that sounds like that. Or, or these guys have had a few hits, so you guys should be going with this producer that's going to make a record that sounds exactly like this other band. That's, you know, they've proven that they're successful with this sound, so you should be creating a record that has this sound as well. That kind of thing, rather than you know, what makes this band unique and interesting. It's how can you sound like the other bands that have already established some success, and I've always felt that that's the wrong way to go about it. I mean, that goes back to the whole Steel Panther thing. Like, Steel Panther wasn't trying to make, I mean, they were sounding like 80s records, right? But still, at the same point in time, like, no one else was going like, you know what you really should do is make a record. You know, so like they did the record that they wanted to do, and we would go into writing sessions with writers in LA, because at the time our label was like, you know, we don't have enough songs for our next album, so we're going to send you to LA. You're going to spend some days writing with various songwriters, and that's how we're going to get the songs sorted out for your next record. And we would walk in, and some guys would say like, oh, well, you know, you had a hit with this song, so let's go try and write another song that sounds like that one. Like literally. And I'm like, no, that's not, that would be the wrong thing to do. We don't want to create the same song again. We want to create the next song. Or it was, you know, Imagine Dragons is a really popular song right now, so let's try to write a song like Imagine Dragons. And we're like, no, like that's not us at all. And then, you know, a few hours into it, they'd be like, well, this is such a relief, because like the last, you know, 20 songwriting sessions I've done have all been with bands that wanted to sound exactly like Imagine Dragons. And so it's this whole thing of like, if you're trying to copy stuff, I don't feel like it's ever going to work. Like, that person already did it. They already have established that that's their sound. So why would you go after their sound? You should be going after your own thing, create your own niche. And then if people like it, you're off to the races. And if they don't, great. But you try, at least you were yourself. You didn't have to, like, you know, only put half of yourself out there so the other half could try to cash in because that's what someone told you to do.
Yeah. That's kind of selling out. I mean, yeah, that's
totally
selling out. But I think, you know, from Radio Ear's perspective, there was a lot of that was happening. In 20 years that I was in radio, I'm like, I can tell exactly who this band is trying to emulate. Yeah. I mean, like maybe I had a knack ear for it, but I'm like, if I can understand it and it's that obvious that we used to put sound codes into songs, so we know, like, and then you'd have artist separation, like, be like, I don't want this band to play next to this band, even though they're two different bands.
They sound too similar.
Sound exactly alike.
Yeah.
That's the like no wait, and people would be like, hey, is that the new so and so song? I'm like, no, actually that's this other band that wants to be them, apparently.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, that's the part where, like, I get it. One band's successful and radio's a business and they want to have the successful bands playing on their station that people want to hear, so on and so forth. But it's you know, there was only one Picasso for a reason, you know, or whatever. Like it's finding your own niche makes your mark more than sounding like somebody else. So,
right.
You know, that's always been my philosophy. I always feel like in those sessions, like I was the bad guy going like, dude, we're not doing that. Nope, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Like we're doing something different. Like whether this works or not, at least we'll feel like we were the musicians that we needed to be at this point in time. Yeah. So,
and I think it's most difficult in a genre that's, let's say, a rock-based format. I think in pop you can get away with it. I think you can get away with it in country. Rock is tough because, you know, if you want to, it's tough to have, especially in trying to format a station or even like a Spotify playlist,
right?
Because it can be all over the map. You know, country folk, not country. I'm not being degrading to country folk. I have some country artists coming on the show on Friday. I'm not
nice,
but there's a little more acceptance.
Yeah.
You know, to some sounds a little different, but a lot of it there's similarity to it. In rock, you try to get away from that because you want to stand out. You would think you'd want to stand out and be like, oh, no, I like this band because this band doesn't sound like everything else. And that's what I've discovered more in being out of radio is like there's a ton of great rock, indie, alt music out there that nobody's playing. and it's so good. And I feel like I'm just hoarding it all to myself. I'm like, it's mine now. I just love it. I'm going to get them people on my show, and we're going to talk about music, and it's going to be great and freeing and free speech in America.
Yeah.
It's all good though.
It's totally true. I mean, there's some of my favorite bands are from Vegas that no one's ever heard of. You know, it's just like, that's all, like, kind of always thinking. It's definitely becoming more and more common. It's just, that was definitely one of the hardest things about being in, you know, the real like radio circuit and label game was that thing of, you know, essentially what felt like people trying to protect their jobs by trying to go after the safest, easiest, you know, apple to grab off of whatever tree, and you know, and not really being able to create something new. That was the toughest part.
Yeah, and it's decade by decade too. I mean, you talked about Motley Crue. I mean, there was a formula back in that era, the glam, you know, the glam rock and the big hair, and you released the big song, the big heavy hitting song, then you released a ballad.
Do the ballad, yeah.
Come to the show. I mean, seems like that's something that came out of Tommy Lee's head. He's like, I have an idea,
right?
But I'm on my way home with Sweet Home, baby. I'm coming.
Yeah.
He's like, I can also play the piano. It's fan.
I learned to twirl my stick out of the Without You video.
Oh yes,
because there are slow motion close ups of Tommy twirling the stick in that, and that's where I learned. And then it was only years later that I learned that apparently Tommy does it opposite of most drummers, and a lot of drummers twirl it on the up way, but I only know how to do it the down way because that's the way that Tommy did it in the video. And
rewinding your VHS tape of that video, back and forth and back.
And dude, like one of the guys, when I got hired for Blue Man, going back to that, Bloss from Slaughter had gotten hired for this. He grew up in Vegas, or actually he didn't grow up in Vegas, but he lived in Vegas because Slaughter was a Vegas band, and Bloss twirled his sticks the opposite way, and I'd be like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, I don't know, that's how I always twirl the stick, and I'm like, but I always twirl. Yeah, anyway, but yeah, but dude, Bloss is such a stellar drummer. He's been doing a bunch of great stuff lately too. But like, you know, that he was known for his theatrics, and I was like, how did I not slow motion the Slaughter videos to learn to stick twirling from the? I don't know.
Now you got to fly.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to the angel. Yeah, man.
And then the other guy, I got hired side by side with Tim Alexander from Primus. So when they hired two drummers, they hired this quirky guy from San Francisco and Tim Alexander. And Tim's the opposite. Like Tim's not a theatrics guy at all. But he's got like the big old kit and, you know, creative and all that kind of stuff. And I just remember being I got the phone call and I was like, so who are you hiring? And they told me, and I was like, so you're hiring me and the guy from Primus? Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll see you there in a few weeks.
This is really starting to make a lot of sense to me. Yeah.
None of this makes sense whatsoever. I'm sitting there going like, I answered a newspaper ad and stood in line for something I didn't know what it was, and now I'm getting hired next to the dude from Primus. Life doesn't make sense right now.
We're upside down, Corky. We're upside down.
Yes.
Up is down, left is right. No.
Oh, yeah.
Cool, man. Hey, I can't say thank you enough. This has been a great conversation. We've had great comments in here. Oh, let's see what Craig. We got to put Craig back on here. Very popular independent country artist.
There we go. See, now something new to check out.
Dude, Upchurch, I mean, like he's got like country stuff that's like he's singing, but he's got like some like Southern Alabama hip hop that's like
nice,
crazy, like whoa, like wild. So, but again, he's another guy that diversifies.
Yes,
I'm gonna do some soft country stuff, and then I'm gonna do some angry redneck rap. It's gonna be awesome.
That's great.
Just being diverse. I think that's the key. I think, and the cool thing about your diversity, and I mentioned this earlier, is that you're doing all the things that you really enjoy doing.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's not like, this sucks, but I got to do that.
Yeah. I mean, dude, the apparel company came from like, I was like, dude, I need some new shirts and I'm tired of walking into stores and not finding shirts. So I'm just going to design some shirts that I would like to wear and that I think are funny or cool or interesting or whatever. And I'll just, I mean, maybe some other people will like them too. At least I'll like them. Screw it. Here we go.
I designed my own outfit. Fuck everybody else. I'm doing this.
Like,
this is for me.
This shirt. This is my most popular shirt.
Yeah.
I thought this was the funniest shirt ever, and it totally just made it up like on a whim. And of course it's like all musicians and whatnot buying it, but it's like, I swear to God, it's the most popular shirt, and it was the most ridiculous thing I could think of at the moment. When I was kind of starting it up, and I was like, I don't know, I'm gonna do some like rock and roll inspired stuff. I came with that, and I was like, cool.
I'd wear that. That shit. That's awesome though.
Oh man.
So the new song drops on Friday. Where can people check it out? Where can they listen? Where can they grab it?
All digital outlets. So if you're a Spotify or Apple or YouTube or whatever, it's, any digital outlet, it'll be there. Which means 9 p.m. on Thursday Pacific time or midnight East Coast time. That whole thing. But yeah, it'll be everywhere Friday. I'm excited for people to hear it. I love this song. I'm very, very happy. Very happy with it.
Awesome, man. Hey, thank you so much. This is great.
Thanks for having me on, man. It's great chatting with you again. It's been a while.
Let's get you back on when the the world's open back up and we can talk about live shows and stuff.
I'm into it.
Awesome, brother. Corky Gangster, take care of yourself, my friend. Let's chat soon.
Thanks, Coop. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Very cool. Corky, Code Red Riot, Blue Man Group. He's got Delete Designs. He's got Corky G Art. The man does it all. We'll put all the links to his stuff in the show notes of the podcast when that gets released. So very cool. Great conversation. Glad we could get Corky on here and enjoy some time together out in Vegas doing the damn thing. We're going to take a short break. I'll be right back. So thank you, by the way. There's a ton of people on the live stream right now. Thank you all for being a part of it. Really appreciate it. We'll be back in just a bit. And we're back. Short little break. When you wear headphones for like 3+ hours, it starts to just feel like they're attached to your body. So I kind of got to do one of these things. Let them flop a little bit. Let them Dumbo. Make it feel better. Huge thanks out to Corky Gangsford of Code Red Riot and Blue Man Group and all the other things he's got going on. No Accident is the name of the song, and that comes out on Friday. And again, as he mentioned, available on all of the platforms. So Spotify, Apple, I'm calling it common here. That's great. Absolutely. Thank you. Craig. Yes. Amazon Music. I'm sure on the Amazon Music as well, which is where I tend to find all my stuff. I'm kind of lost in there. I'm mostly like a podcast listener on the Spotify, and then for music and stuff, Amazon Music, because then I can just yell at the robots in the house and they play the music. It's weird. Probably listening right now. I probably shouldn't have said that too loud. Otherwise, they'll start dinging and spinning and showing stuff. It's wild. Been a great Wednesday episode. Thanks again to Corky, Dan Beck of Midwest Meals, Joey Arima. Looking forward to his new project. Big White Light, going to be dropping some heavy stuff coming out hopefully very soon. So looking forward to all that. Big thanks to all of today's guests on the program. Tomorrow's show. So for those of you who are new or just tuning in, haven't been a part of this before, Thursday's show. So we run this every single day from 3 until 6 p.m. So 3 hours of conversation and banter and chatter. You're obviously always welcome to be a part of it, whatever platform you're watching on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. Jump on, leave a comment, let us know where you're listening. I know I saw West Virginia in there. I think we had a Georgia. Robert's out in Georgia. Very cool stuff. So jump on and share with your friends. We got a big day coming up tomorrow from Devour the Day and Egypt Central and the new company he's got going on, Third Eye Hat Co. Joey Chicago Walzer is going to be on the program tomorrow. Todd Whitener of Blitzkrieg, new band, Blitzkrieg, but Todd, founding member of Tantric and of Days of the New. So if you remember Tantric and Days of the New, Todd was a big part of that. Now he's got a new project. It's called Blitzkrieg, and they got some new music, and we're going to be talking to him about a bunch of stuff, putting a new band together. So cool stuff there. Andrew Calvino is going to be on, fitness athlete, also host of the Content Inspire podcast. He is going to be coming on tomorrow from, I believe he's from Indianapolis, talking to him. And another guy who talks to rock stars all the time, Joshua Toomey, host of the Talk to Me podcast, will be on the program. That's coming up tomorrow. As we get into to Friday's show, Big Friday, action packed Friday. I feel like we should have CGI like explosions or something on the screen. Can we get that? Not in the budget. We don't have a budget. We're not getting paid to do this. Okay, that's cool. Anyway, Friday's show is huge. Ryan Patrick of Otherwise will be on. We have Leanne and Derek from October Rose. We have George Dukas, country legend and songwriter, Grammy Award winner. George Dukas, my buddy from Nashville, is going to be on. And from Islander, Mikey Carvajal will join the program. That's all coming up on Friday, again, 3 until 6. And a big week planned for next week as well. Jesse James Dupree from Jackal will be on the program. My good friend Rachel Loren is going to be coming up on Wednesday. Kyle Pfeiffer from Blacklight District will be on. And this is going to be very cool. Really excited about this. This man is running for governor of the state of Wisconsin in 2022. Jonathan Wickman. So gubernatorial candidate from the great state of Wisconsin. Jonathan Wickman is going to be on the live show. That's coming up on Wednesday of next week. We're going to spend an hour talking about all the things that are going on. This is what the show is all about, though. It's about like conversations with all the people. We got band guys. We got doctors. I know Dr. Jay LaGuardia is going to be on every single Monday talking about stuff. Entrepreneurs, veterans, everybody. We're just gonna talk. We're just gonna have conversations with people, and because that's what we need to do. I feel like perhaps that is what has been missing is conversation. You kind of get it in short spurts. You get like clips, but like having a long form conversation with somebody is really only happens now in the podcast world. And to be able to bring it not only to the podcast, but also to the live stream where you can have not only the conversation with the guests, but you can also have people hop on social media and they can jump on if they're leaving a comment in the comment sections. Chris, great interview. Thank you so much. No, thanks for tuning in, man. This is a fun thing to do because we can talk about everything. We talked to Corky about everything. Who knew he was a BMXer for like 20 years? Yeah, and then got into music. You know, we learned stuff. Dan Beck had some great things today talking about nutrition and talking about food and eating right and not always having to eat right because you can have a little bit of leeway there. Joey talking about all the stuff he's doing and the lean forward, lean into the work, lean into the hurt. Great stuff today, but that's what this is all about. This is about having conversations with people from all walks of life, different genres, different vantage points, different viewpoints, and just having conversation. Because again, perhaps that is what we need. Because a lot of times we end up living in comment land, and all you get, what do you get on Twitter? 200, 256, 280 characters to have a conversation with somebody. Facebook, you can be a little more, but like, how do you read somebody if you're just reading what they're saying on the screen? I don't know. So that's what this is all about, is having those long form conversations. So really looking forward to it. And finally, and I'll wrap with this, a big thanks out to all of you who tuned in today on Facebook, on the Facebook page, on YouTube. It's youtube.com. There's a bunch of letters after it. But search Cooperville on YouTube and you can follow the YouTube channel, and Twitch, which if you're not familiar with Twitch, it's a free app to download. You can watch other people have conversations. You can watch people game. You can watch artists talk about music. I know my Otherwise guys are in there. I know like Blacktop Mojo. We had Matt on the other week or last week. So jump on Twitch, download the app. It's free to download. Search No Limit Cooper, and you can then watch there on Twitch and comment and do all the fun stuff. So another great show in the books. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back again tomorrow with another big show. We appreciate your time. Until then, please take care of yourselves. Take care of one another.